Right now, Leppenheim, the capital of the Antares Empire, is engulfed in a sea of fire. A giant ferocious dragon roars madly. With just a single stomp, countless soldiers lost their lives. And it wasn't just one. The capital was being ravaged by a horde of monsters. Observing from above, a majestic voice spoke, "I can't believe our 2 million troops were defeated by the monsters they summoned." A soldier quickly added a report. Approximately 200,000 are dead, and 300,000 are wounded due to their territory and summoning magic, At that moment, a man stood up and declared boldly, "But this is the end for the Demon King who destroyed our kingdom and tainted this world with his evil, because true heroes will purge him from this world." His subordinate praised him reverently. "It is all thanks to your brilliant wisdom, sir." Meanwhile, at the Demon King's Grand Hall, the heart of Gyrock, the Hall of Hell. This young man is the hero, Alex von Hallein. Today, your evil ends. It's time for you to return to the shadows, O Demon King. The one seated on the high throne is the Emperor of the Antares Empire, Leppenhart Wald Antares, the Demon King Leppenhart. The mighty sword Saint Cyrus followed Alex's lead. "Demon King, we will destroy you and put an end to this dark empire." Leppenhart sneered in annoyance. "How irritating. All this work I put into building my nation, and you insist on calling it a dark empire. It has a perfectly fine name, Antares. The sun and moon rise here just like anywhere else." "The King of Fists," Tesron declared heroically. "Your dark empire is summoning demonic creatures. Once you are gone, the evil nature of those corrupted monsters will vanish with you." "What demonic nature crap is this?" Leppenhart thought with contempt. "They were always like this. All I did was teach them human war tactics. How many times were we at a disadvantage? They call it corruption just because we use a few strategies. We're only doing what humans have always done." He spoke calmly. "Are all 4 of my war kings dead?" Cyrus confirmed resolutely, "That's right. That filthy orc stood no chance against my blade." It was only then that Leppenhart's fury began to surface. "Don't tell me Tassid, the mighty orc warrior, has been killed." Orcs may seem barbaric, but they are loyal and simple people who live by hunting and gathering. How can people call them monsters when they protect the weak and fight against the strong? Sure, they aren't very clean since they rarely bathe, but the happy memories he had with them made his anger boil. "Your Majesty, please try some of this." Tesron boasted triumphantly, "Of the 4 heavenly kings, that filthy troll demon has paid for its sins." Leppenhart's annoyance was palpable. Holy Master Atilka has returned to the earth too. Trolls might look a bit scary, but calling them scoundrels is going too far. They're just a tribe that honors nature and cultivates the soul. Saint Elin dealt him another mental blow. The wicked dwarf who worshipped a shadow god has also been enlightened. Leppenhart muttered, nursing a headache. "I can't believe Macklin is gone too. And since when was the dwarf god Alport known as a shadow god? How arrogant. They consider any god other than their main god Sayer and the other 12 to be a demon." The Wizard of Light Jade. Arclight arrogantly unleashed her power. "I sent that vile dark elf to meet her maker. My magic was too powerful for her." Leppenhart's expression twisted in fury. He furiously unleashed the dark power he had been suppressing for so long. "You dare kill Cirrus, are you asking to die?" Tesron shouted, berating Leppenhart. "Now your true colors are showing. Demon King dark elves are depraved creatures steeped in shadow. They're not worthy of pity." He stood up for Cirrus. "She's not a dark elf. I mean, her skin is a little dark, that's all. It's only because you humans destroyed the forests and drove her people into the barren wastelands where they were exposed to the sun. How dare you call a pure-blooded high elf a dark elf?" Leading the subjugation party, Alex stepped forward. "With this sword I will bring peace to the souls of the departed." Leppenhart growled in response. "Is that so? Words are cheap. Then who will bring peace to the souls of the other races that have been—" Alex stubbornly condemned him. "You are despicable, Leppenhart. If not for your evil powers, those demons would not have been corrupted and could have lived according to their true nature." Leppenhart realized the nature of this cruel reality. It's pointless. This conversation is going nowhere. To them, the other races are just wretched creatures who dared to step out of their place as slaves. All they see are demons that need to be destroyed. Without further hesitation, he decided to wipe out the entire hero party. "Fine then. I will become the Demon King you want me to be." Leppenhart unleashed his maximum power, blowing Alex's entire party into the air. With tears in his eyes, he made a formal declaration. "My name is Leppenhart. I was once just an ordinary high-ranking dark mage. although a high-ranking dark mage isn't exactly ordinary. Lepenhart directly activated incredibly intricate magic circles. Humans don't see other races as their intellectual equals. Elves are treated as beautiful, long-lived servants. Dwarves are slaves skilled at digging and crafting. Orcs are strong laborers. And trolls are used as ingredients for health potions. They were all slaves stripped of their self-respect and dignity. I was shocked when I learned of the injustices buried in their forgotten cultures. Lepenhart remembered those early days. By meeting them, I learned how to live, and by combining the elemental magic of the elves with the sorcery of the trolls, I became the first person in history to master 10th circle magic. Through those exchanges, my values gradually changed. I couldn't ignore the sight of innocent people being enslaved, so I began to rescue them. But as I expanded my territory to protect them, hiding from humans became increasingly difficult. Then the humans began to march their armies to conquer our lands. They attacked and ravaged relentlessly, and as our territory was destroyed, we were forced to move again. Although it was only for self-defense, our territory continued to expand and people flocked to establish villages and hamlets. And so the Antares Empire was born. Amidst the cheers of all the people, Lepenhart was crowned king. I built a nation for the minority races not out of hatred for humanity, but from the belief that all sentient beings are equal. That is why I never sought revenge. He realized with anguish that this, however, was the price he had to pay. Although the Empire's citizens considered this place a paradise, the humans claimed it was just the Demon King's evil magic enchanting them. Perhaps having orcs and goblins as royal guards made them feel threatened, but that was no reason to slaughter innocent civilians and comrades. Lepenhart's power erupted with surging fury. As their leader, I have a duty to protect my empire. If their laws permit them to kill us, then I will erase those laws and create new ones. The first to be sent to his grave was the leader of the Heroes Party. With a single move, Lepenhart sent Alex flying. He sneered mockingly. The world calls you a hero skilled in both swordplay and magic, but in reality you've mastered neither. Tesro screamed in horror. Alex! Lepenhart thought with contempt. Humph. You could call him versatile, but in the end he's just a jack of all trades. In stories, the hero is always the one left standing, but in reality only a specialist can truly succeed. The only one still standing now was the mighty Tesron, the King of Fists, a man of unparalleled strength and endurance. I managed to deal with the others somehow, but Tesron, he's different. Like a tempest, Tesron flashed forward and attacked Lepenhart. Though he hated to admit it, he took the full force of Tesron's earth-shattering punch. This was a man who had dedicated his entire life to honing a single skill to its absolute limit. Defeating him without giving Lepenhart a moment to recover, the King of Fists charged in, determined to finish him off. Tesron instantly punched a gaping hole through his castle. With nimble movements, Lepenhart appeared like a god. His eyes quickly widened in astonishment, because Lepenhart realized Tesron had already closed the distance from behind. He urgently waved his hand, casting a spell to counterattack. But Tesron's pure physical power continued to surge. Victory is ours. Demon King. Never in his life did he imagine someone would dare to punch him directly on the top of his head like this. Blood gushed from his head, but Lepenhart forced himself to speak defiantly. Is that all you've got? Then take my magic. Tesron now took a cautious stance. Beyond my expectations. He truly is worthy of his title, as Lepenhart was the only one in agonizing pain. Damn it! My spine is completely shattered. At this rate, I'm going to die. If I can just take down the King of Fists, it'll all be over. But there's no way I can. Cornering him, Tesron declared with overwhelming power, "Let me send you to your final rest." Lepenhart still tried to mock him. Fine, you've won, you must be so proud. Tesron's ideals were unshakable. Now the others will be freed from their evil nature and return to their true human selves. This statement caused the flames of rage within Lepenhart to erupt once more. He gritted his teeth. I was ready to give up, but I can't. Evil nature. True human selves. Are you saying they were born to be slaves? I cannot accept that. The thought of it drives me mad. This is an artifact found in some ruins called the Eye of Time and Space. Even a 10th level mage like myself cannot decipher its magical power. Lepenhart's sudden frenzy startled Tesron. What are you planning to do? With the last of his strength, Lepenhart resolved to make a final spectacular move. I will use a forbidden spell that can bend time and space. It reverses the caster's own time, shattering the natural order established by the gods. I'm not sure it will even activate, but what have I got left to lose? Try and stop this king of fists. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Tesron rushed to stop him. Leppenhart. He used all his power to activate the mystical artifact. I cannot die yet. Tesron tried to charge into the center of the spell. Leppenhart still refused to accept his fate. Not like this. At the last second, the artifact was touched by both Leppenhart and Tesron at the same time. A world-shaking explosion erupted violently. The space flared with blinding light, with only the faint silhouettes of the Demon King and the King of Fists visible. Everything was engulfed in an intense, all-consuming light. And then there was only an endless white void. Suddenly, the scene became peaceful, with birds chirping on the branches. Nearby, there was a cozy wooden cabin. Inside, the room was filled with morning sun and a gentle breeze. A person whispers to himself, "What is this sound? This feeling, so warm and comfortable? Am I still alive? Did I succeed? But decoding that space-time manipulation spell was so exhausting I nearly passed out. I truly am a genius, but I didn't expect it to activate so quickly. Where on earth am I? It seems like I've just jumped through time, but my memories of the past have no place like this." The brawny young man wondered in confusion, How old am I now? In a wooden cabin deep in a remote hilly region, someone's sturdy feet stepped down from the bed. The solid body made its owner gasp in awe. Even the toughest guys would cry seeing a physique like this. Tesron muttered in shock, "What the hell is this? What's going on?" Where did these calluses come from? A body full of scars, rippling muscles. A mage only needs to be good at magic. What's the point of having six-pack abs? Not to brag, but I used to be quite the lady killer back in my day. Even now, I've still got enough charm to make the elf girls swoon. Why does this face look so plain? Where are my sharp features? Now it's just all muscle. What the hell just happened? Did the space-time spell fail? Is that why I ended up in some stranger's body? This face, it looks kind of familiar. That means this isn't the past. Maybe it wasn't time travel, but my soul was swapped. I have thick brown eyebrows and sharp, cold eyes. And an unbearably stubborn mouth. If he were a bit bigger with a beard, he'd be just like... Those clues made him realize it instantly. The King of Fists, Tesron. Just then a shout came from outside. "Tesron, you lazy bum!" Gerard burst through the door, appearing aggressively. "The sun's already high in the sky. How much longer are you planning to lie there? Get up. Start the new day with a big, bright smile." His massive frame made Tesron stammer in terror. "Who is that? Is that a monster?" Gerard leaned down and scanned him, looking at him as if he'd never seen him before. Tesron repeated in a panic, "I'm serious. I really don't know who you are." Gerard looked bored with these petty tricks. "Oh, for heaven's sake, my dear Tesron. This is the second time you've pulled this amnesia act. I'm on to you. It's not going to work." With his huge hand, he grabbed his student by the head. Gerard dragged Tesron outside. "Now get to the training grounds," he screamed in a frenzy. "Wait, what? Training!" His brain quickly identified Gerard. Based on his words, this person must be Tesron's master, which means he's the strongest person on this continent. The King of Fists, Gerard Chrome Proteus. Ah no, the former King of Fists is more accurate, Gerard Chrome Proteus. Before he could explain anything, Tesron was tied tightly to a tree trunk. "Hey, old man, just listen to me for a second." Gerard bluntly covered his mouth. "That's enough. You're talking way too much today. All right, let's begin today's training session." Tesron's face was now filled with overwhelming terror. Grabbing a large bamboo pipe, Gerard swung it with all his might at Tesron. He was in so much pain that tears and snot streamed down his face. Tesron trembled, thinking to himself, what the hell is going on? And it wasn't over. Gerard unleashed a continuous combo, beating him to a pulp without missing a single strike. Tesron had no choice but to bid farewell to his love, Cirrus. "I'm afraid I won't be seeing you again." As he beat him, Gerard felt something strange. Something's not right today. His body is softer than usual. Could it be he really has lost his memory? But still, my martial arts school, the Invincible Gym, is famous for its harsh training. Our regimen is simple, cruel, and extremely intense, so temporary amnesia is common. Even I've lost my memory a few times before. But don't worry, because there's a very simple cure. The more you get hit, the faster you'll come to your senses. Tesron could only scream desperately in his mind, "Help me, anybody!" Gerard got more pumped up as he continued the beating. Humans are weak, which is why they must resort to weapons. They rely on armor and weapons because their bodies are too frail. As a mage, Tesron couldn't absorb this lesson. But what's wrong with using tools? Gerard lectured passionately. That's just sophistry, a cowardly excuse for those who can't overcome their own weakness. A true warrior must train their weaknesses and overcome them. Tesron's eyes widened as he silently retorted, "In my 50 years of life, I have never heard anything so ridiculous." After shattering 2 bamboo sticks, Gerard still wasn't satisfied. The human body is like iron. The more it's forged, the harder it becomes. Stunned, Tesron cursed under his breath. What the hell does he mean? This is completely absurd. Gerard's hand tightened around a new set of bamboo sticks. "I chose you as my disciple. Believe in yourself. The human body has no limits. You can become steel. Tesron, not just anyone can get stronger through training alone. Only fine steel can be forged from fine iron, and it takes someone special to build a body as mighty as steel. That is why I found you, Tesron. Think of the vast ocean. It contains all things yet remains unchanged. You have a vast ocean within you as well. Release it." He was beaten so relentlessly that he couldn't even breathe. What the hell is this? Tears streamed down Tesron's face as he thought of his comrades. The sea, the great ocean, the vast sea. It wasn't until sunset that Gerard finally let his student go. "That's enough for today. Go get some rest." His body covered in wounds. An exhausted Tesron groaned. "I'm not dead. How am I still alive after taking so many hits? Thank you for being so resilient." The night sky gradually fell with the stars twinkling magically above. Meanwhile, Tesron was busy marveling. "Holy crap! This bath has Gerald Grass Pedtal's petals and even recovery potions in it. The cheapest recovery potion costs 10 silver coins a bottle. I can't believe they filled the entire tub with it. They say the queen bathes in milk for her skin, but that's nothing compared to this." "Why would you prepare a medicinal bath like this?" Gerard appeared and calmly explained, "Because after iron is forged, it must be cooled." Tesron understood the principle immediately. They push the body to its absolute limit, forging every muscle and bone to the brink of death, then use aura and recovery water for immediate restoration. That way the body regenerates before being destroyed, becoming even stronger than before. Sounds like this might not be such an insane training method after all. I've fought Tesron before, so I know exactly how tough his body is. He must have trained this way since he was a child. Now only one question remained in his mind. What about the Leppenheart of this current timeline? The young Leppenheart. Does he exist somewhere right now? Can 2 versions of the same soul coexist in the same timeline? If they can, then I can think of 2 possibilities. One, I, the Leppenheart from the future, am currently in Tesron's body and we are coexisting. Tesron continued to reason. The body of the young Leppenheart now houses the soul of Tesron, the King of Fists. The next day, Gerard presented Tesron with a mountain of food. "Eat all of this. You need to nourish your body after exerting yourself to the fullest. All right, now let's go for a light jog to help you digest. Can't handle it anymore? Or should we continue with this morning's training session?" The thought terrified him so. Tesron hurriedly replied, No, that won't. Damn it, how much longer do I have to keep this up?" After a long day of grueling training, Tesron was completely exhausted. He stared blankly into space, muttering to himself, "I'm inside the body of a young Tesron. I have no idea how this will affect the future. I have to get out of this place. If my younger self exists here, what will happen when our 2 souls come face to face? The uniqueness of a soul is an inviolable law of the universe. If things go wrong, both souls could be destroyed. The young Leppenheart won't even start learning magic for another 10 years. Right now, he's probably got his nose buried in a book at the Delphia Magic Tower, so the chances of us meeting are low. But what if Tesron has taken over my body? He would surely hunt me down. However, Tesron's strength comes from his invincible physique built through training. With this weak body of mine, he probably can't do much, unless he becomes a 10th Circle mage. Training at the Invincible Gym requires an instructor. You can't just train on your own. Then again, for a guy like Tesron, he'd probably figure out a way to do it himself. In any case, my #1 priority is escaping this hellhole. The moment he saw no one was looking, Tesron bolted. He ran for his life, his mind made up. I have to escape. I'm definitely escaping tonight at any cost. He hadn't gotten far before Gerard was there to block his path. "My dear student, and where might you be off to?" Tesron froze, cursing under his breath. That freakish old man. How long has he been sitting there? "It's been a few months since your last escape attempt." Gerard casually calculated. "This makes the 9th time, doesn't it? You'll be hitting double digit," he tried to explain. "Listen, the truth is, I'm not Tesron. My name is Leppenhart, and I am a mage. Gerard calmly stroked his beard. So that's this time's story, is it? His attitude left Tesron speechless. What Gerard continued with a weary voice. Last time you said you came from another world. You also mentioned meeting gods and dragons. Tesron's jaw dropped, realizing he was completely screwed. Huh. His master's voice slowly recounted, and the story before that. Ah, yes. You were a martial arts master reincarnated from a place called Huan on the eastern continent. That was a bit more convincing than this one, though. I'll let it slide for now. Now get back inside and go to sleep. In the end, Tesron was dragged back to the wooden cabin by his head. Damn it, I failed today. But I will succeed tomorrow. Fine, today's jailbreak was a bust. I'll admit defeat for now, but don't you dare think I'll be stuck in this place forever. On his next escape attempt, Gerard was once again waiting to block his student. Tesron, I tried all of these same tricks back when I was an apprentice. I understand. How could I not know how you feel? But if you just endure a little longer, it will all be worth it. I promise you that. The man who earned the title Demon King through sheer persistence has now given up on escaping. Gerard proudly shows off his power. At the Invincible Dojo, there's a secret technique to prevent students from escaping that's been passed down for over 130 years. After all, this school is famous for every single one of its students trying to fake an illness or find... Tesron thought resentfully, even if I did escape, that old man would hunt me to the ends of the earth. It would probably be easier to just ask for his permission to leave the mountain. And so 2 years passed, and Tesron officially endured that harsh training without missing a single day. In that sweet hell, the day finally came when Gerard excitedly acknowledged him. Congratulations, my boy. You've managed to awaken your aura. You've finally succeeded in fighting. A fiery aura enveloped his entire body, making Tesron extremely embarrassed. They say that even the praised genius swordsman Cyrus couldn't do this until he was over 30, yet I did it before I turned 20. Gerard laughed proudly. What's surprised with the Invincible Gym's training plan, this is a matter of course. When the body is trained while simultaneously activating survival instincts, the will to live enhances your life force, and that boosted power manifests as an aura. This stick doesn't hurt when I hit you anymore, right? Let's move on to the next level. It's time to train your skills. Tesron couldn't hide his joy. I finally get to learn some practical combat techniques, so what kind of skills will we be training Master? Does this mean I'll be leaving this mountain soon? Gerard smiled with delight. Compared to Tesron, his fist had an aura 100 times stronger. You just get to... He felt as if he had just fallen into a different kind of hell. And so, another 3 years passed with sparring sessions more insane than anything else he'd experienced. The southern region of the Vasili Kingdom, deep within the treacherous Rakid Mountains, a place where a majestic waterfall was crashing straight down to the foot of the mountain. Standing there was Tesron after 3 years of diligent training. The presence his fists now carried was on a completely different level. Alarm beep. Tesron focused his strength, gathering all his power into one punch. He took a step back to gain momentum, then unleashed his move decisively. Aiming straight at the cliff face, Tesron unleashed his full power in a world-shaking punch. He carefully assessed his own ability. Still maxing out at only 3 layers, huh? I feel like I can still level up with just a little more training. The Horn of Calamity is a secret technique that pours the body's entire power into a single destructive blow. The aura condenses into layers, forming the shape of a horn, hence the name. I have to push it to 4 layers somehow. The final stage of the Horn of Calamity is 9 layers. It's an attack that creates 9 shockwaves, rumored to be able to kill even gods. But the Tesron of his previous life only reached 7 layers, and even his master Gerard only managed to touch the 8th. Master said I have to reach at least 4 layers before I'm allowed to leave the mountain. He's gone down to the village. Probably won't be back until he's had a few drinks. In the past, I would have seen this as a chance to escape. That's enough physical training. No more physical training. Tesron switched to chanting, Delphir Lesteren seize the space and become the bullet that strikes down the enemy. The magic orb he created was launched straight towards the forest. But while the movement looked impressive, it had no destructive power. Tesron scratched his head and muttered, My body won't listen to me anymore. I have all this magical knowledge thanks to the artificial illusion. But can I really become a mage when my body can't gather mana or perform simple calculations? Suddenly his gaze became highly alert. Tesron detected a presence from afar. What I'm sensing is definitely not human. A foot full of sharp claws slowly came into view. The monster had messy hair with beads of sweat on its face. Tesron quickly assessed his opponent. So it's an orc. Based on his build, he's probably about 3 or 4 years old. Quite young. Maybe he ran away from an arena or something. Tasid was still trying to be intimidating. Human, pretend you don't see me, and I won't. Having lived through so much, Tesron understood immediately. He's talking to me because I'm not showing any malice. They're a race that avoids needless bloodshed. Even in this situation. Little orc, are you being chased? Tasid couldn't help but be surprised. How does a human know this language? Tesron just shrugged and replied simply, I know a few orc. Hearing this, he let his guard down. What good fortune. You're right, I'm being hunted. Tesron generously proposed, I need your help. Do you trust me? Tasid stated his opinion frankly. We speak the same language, which means you are my brother, and my soul can feel that your intentions are truly good. But brother, if you help me, you'll be in danger too. Through their conversation, Tesron astutely realized he speaks very fluently. Is he an orc of noble lineage? I have the power to help you. Just trust me. He began to cast a spell his area of expertise. Aiming at the tunnel he had just punched through, Tesron firmly declared, My magic will hide you. Tasid's eyes were filled with doubt. My benefactor is a wizard, Tesron asked humorously. Find that strange. Tasid hesitated for a moment, then admitted, with a body like that, yes. I'm very grateful for your help. After Tasid was out of sight, Tesron heard whispers behind him. What a pain. They grumbled irritably. It's just a few silver coins. Do we really need to go this far for that? Bright snapped aggressively. Hey, you see an orc come through here? His subordinate quickly chimed in. Tell us and we'll give you a gold coin. Breet turned, startled, and whispered, Are you really going to give him a gold coin? The stout man replied with a sly, deceitful look. Of course not. After he talks, we'll just play Tesron flatly denied it. I don't know anything. Bright persisted like a leech. Suddenly, another member of the group noticed something. There are orc tracks. Bright quickly gave the order. He went this way. Let's go. It was only then that Tesron remembered something. That's right. Basic magic can't hide footprints. That's where I live. Breet flew into a rage and cursed. Are you crazy? How dare you stand in our way, you country bumpkin? His subordinate cautiously warned, Bright, that guy looks strong. The hot-headed man boasted loudly, What's there to be afraid of? Listening to their noisy chatter, Tesron's annoyance was clear. Hey, you, stop wasting time, get out of the way. This guy's physique is impressive, but so what? That doesn't change anything. Remembering Gerard's teachings, Tesron switched to using magic. Your fists are a lethal weapon. A single punch can take down most people. So what should I do, Master? You must be appropriately merciful to the weak. From within a magic circle, he pulled out a weapon. For someone whose fists are stronger than any weapon using one, is the ultimate act of mercy. Tesron's aura flared intensely as he announced in a firm voice, Don't worry, if I use this to fight, you won't die. The Indestructible Dojo specializes in bare-handed combat, but that doesn't mean they don't teach how to use weapons. Bright's gang laughed and charged forward. Did he just pull out a stick? You want to fight, huh? Well, let us teach you a lesson or two about how Tesron just smirked, then took a deep breath. He swung the weapon in his hand, forcefully shattering Bright's formation. The remaining subordinates hastily rushed in to help. Damn it, everyone attack at once, die! But the purpose of this staff technique, the only weapon skill they teach, isn't for combat. It's simply a method to toughen up students to become great warriors. Therefore, it strikes every inch of the opponent's body. No defense, all offense. As Tesron fought wildly, he silently noted, their swordsmanship isn't bad, they must be mercenaries. Seizing the opportunity, one man charged forward and slashed directly at his bare back. Tesron's back was unharmed, but sadly the same couldn't be said for the sword. My sword! Tesron coldly sent him flying. Is that even a human body anymore? Even a sword can't cut it. I know this is my body now, but it still feels unreal. The noteworthy thing about this staff technique is that it won't kill the opponent. Don't worry, you won't die. Even if their bones are shattered and their flesh is torn, they won't die. Not at all. Believing that Tesron let loose. This way they won't. All of the mercenaries were knocked out cold. Help! Bright trembled like a leaf. You bastard, who are you? Tesron casually provoked him. Still threatening me, I guess you can still think straight. It's not fair that your friends are all broken while you're still fine. And so he generously delivered another crushing blow. Spare me. Tesron growled a final word, vanish. Bright's gang could only limp away in retreat. Thank you, sir. Tezran had so much fun fighting that the weapon broke in two. What a shame. It was just getting fun. Maybe I should take on some students and beat them into shape. He had been unconsciously influenced by the teaching methods of the indestructible doe. After everything was over, Tasid reappeared. I am truly grateful. My benefactor, I will never forget this day as long as I live. I will repay this debt no matter the cost. Tezran smiled in reply. Should a warrior bow his head so easily? Tasid swore, frankly, you saved me and opened a new path for me. You are my guide. When the time comes, I will draw my sword for you. In orc culture, a guide is a lifelong pathfinder whom they deeply respect. In human terms, it's quite similar to a knight serving their king. Tasid continued respectfully, May I know my benefactor's name? Tezran was about to say forthrightly, I am Tess, but he stopped midway, lost in thought. Finally, he formally announced his name. My name is Lepenhart. Lepenhart Wald Antares. Tasid repeated seriously, Lepenhart Wald Antares. I will remember this name. Tezran asked kindly. I know you don't have many options in this human-dominated world, but what will you do next? Tasid expressed with determination. This is a vast continent. Surely there must be a place that will take me in. Even if there isn't, I would rather wander until I die than live as a... Using the memories of his past life, Tezran gave Tasid directions. You'll find an unnamed wasteland southeast of Mount Rakid. It will take about 2 weeks to get there. Your people call that place the Land of Trials. That's where you should go. I heard there are orcs living in seclusion there called the Blue Bear Tribe. He then watched Tasid's figure disappear into the distance. Farewell. The boy also bid him farewell. I take my leave. Suddenly, Tezran remembered something. That's right. I forgot to ask your name. Tasid replied brightly, I am the son of Crota and the wielder of Lat's axe. My name is Tasid. The moment he finished speaking, Tezran realized. Watching that retreating back, he whispered to himself, he's Tasid. Tasid is a great orc warrior and one of the 4 war kings. He was once the chief of the Blue Bear tribe and later became the patriarch of the orc race. Could the original Tezran have met the young Tasid? Considering his temperament, I don't think he would have helped an orc. Fate must work in mysterious ways. After that, Tezran remained on the mountaintop, watching the back of the new acquaintance from their strange encounter. A deep nostalgia flickered in his eyes. Tezran remembered the day he officially ascended the throne. He also remembered the valiant Tasid of the future. He remembered the comrades he had always respected. He remembered Cirrus, the one he loved and cared for with all his heart. And his dwarven comrades, too. How happy Lepenhart was back then. And even though he was in Tezran's body, Lepenhart still longed for the day he could meet them again. His comrades, his brothers, and the rearguard of that brave warrior. Another half a year had passed since the strange encounter with Tasid. Gerard clenched his fist, his face ecstatic, preparing to unleash a thunderous punch. Take this, my disciple! That single punch of his seemed powerful enough to tear apart the frozen space around them. Seeing the immense force coming towards him, Tezran cried out in alarm, Isn't that a bit overkill? To block that single blow, he had to use a technique that made his body harder than rock spiral Aegis. Seeing that he could block this punch thrown with 70% of his power, he was extremely satisfied. Good, very good. Your spiral Aegis has reached its peak. I remember it like it was yesterday when you insisted that Teslan was Riffenhard after being beaten half to death. Recalling the old memory made him cringe. Why is Master bringing up something from 6 years ago? Gerard ignored his gloomy expression and fell into reminiscence. It's been 10 years since I started teaching you. You've gotten much stronger since then, but... Why are you still so short? Tezran stared at him in disbelief. This guy who was taller than a flagpole dared to call him short. What do you mean, Master? I'm over 1.90 meters. He refused to accept it and roared, Nonsense! A member of the School of the Indestructible must be at least 2 meters tall! The first Warrior King Valkenshut, the second Warrior King Calbrain, the third Warrior King Rastal. Are you still practicing the breathing technique I taught you? Tezran endured his master's spit flying onto his face and recalled the previous owner's body. The Teslan I once met was also about 2.3 meters tall. I think it's just a matter of physique, Master. Inside, he cursed silently. Are you crazy? There's no way I can get any taller. If I use that breathing technique now, my body will become grotesque. Hearing that, Gerard's expression was one of resignation as he tried to comfort him. It's all right. As long as you're still sturdy despite your smaller frame, that's good enough. All right then, show me your final result. Begin. The moment he finished speaking, Tesran's pupils began to glow with a brilliant, dangerous golden light. Tesran stomped his foot and leaped into the air, the surrounding atmosphere swirling around him like a vortex. He clenched his fist, his muscles tensing, becoming harder than rock or anything else in the world as power gradually gathered in his hand. Calamity Horn. Tesran threw a mighty punch that tore through the air, the force radiating from him nearly shattering the atmosphere. This earth-shattering punch was called the Fourth Layer Calamity Horn. With him at the center, the entire surrounding space was shattered to pieces. Water shot high into the sky as a deafening, terrifying roar echoed all around. Just like that, the solid sheet of ice was shattered by Tesran's single punch, like a nuclear bomb dropped on a peaceful lake. Gerard stared blankly at the terrifying scene before him. An almost irrepressible smile spread across his face, and then he burst into hearty, gratified laughter. Excellent! With that technique, you won't be easily defeated. Even Tesran himself couldn't believe he had pulled off such a move. He stared at his own sturdy hand in disbelief. I did it. After seeing that his student's skills had become truly great, he could finally let him leave the mountain with peace of mind. It seems the time has come for you to step out into the world. As if he hadn't heard clearly, Tesran asked again. Gerard looked at him with a gentle gaze and offered his praise. You have done very well. Riffenhart, my disciple. From now on, you are free to live as you please. I don't care if you become a good man or a villain. Live the life you desire. That is the reward for the training you have endured until now. His words shook him. He never expected his master's feelings for him ran so deep. Master Gerard. Before sending him down the mountain, Gerard's face grew serious as he gave his instructions. There is something that the third warrior King Rastal told me 60 years ago. In his distant memory, the image of a stern Rastal appeared and said, remember these three things well. First, it is fine to accumulate wealth, but do not gain it through dishonest means. The younger version of Gerard interrupted. Wait a minute, didn't you just say I could become a villain? Seeing his confusion, he explained more clearly. What I mean is, if you are going to be a villain, at least be a villain with class. Hearing this nonsensical explanation, Gerard looked at him with a weary expression. What a strange ideology. He ignored his student's judgmental gaze and continued, Second, stand with the unjustly treated when you can. Isn't it better to live a life that is... A hint of doubt appeared in his voice. The unjustly treated, not the weak. Rastal paused for a moment, then slowly explained, being weak does not mean one is unjustly treated. There are many people in this world weaker than you. How would you distinguish? And third, the most important thing? Returning to the present, the image of Rastal seemed to overlap with Gerard. He raised his third finger and said with an icy gaze, by any means necessary, continue the martial arts legacy of the School of the Indestructible. You must find a disciple to inherit our martial arts. Understood? Tesran didn't dare to disobey. He replied seriously, Yes, Master. I will take it to heart. I see you've remembered the three things I told you. It's not easy to find a child with such immediate talent, so you don't have to be burdened by this your whole life. But when an opportunity presents itself, you must not let it slip away. Take this. It has clothes and travel expenses. Tesran looked at the pile of silver in the bag with a doubtful expression and said, 30 silver coins. I thought you had a lot of assets in the Vasily Kingdom, Master. Don't you even have a mansion in the capital? I figured you'd give me more. Gerard chuckled grimly and explained, To a commoner, this is half a year's living expenses. Our school has a fixed stipend for those who leave the mountain. It's only increased recently due to inflation. In my time, it was only about 25 silver coins. I've left a small gift for you in the Settlard mountain range. The location is marked on this map. If you happen to pass by, feel free to visit. After that, he changed into the clothes the old man gave him and walked away from the icy place where he had lived for so long. He looked back, feeling a bit of regret and reluctance at having to leave the old man here alone. Is this really okay? Me leaving? Am I really free now? Suddenly, a powerful beam of light pierced the sky, flaring up and startling Tesran out of his wallowing emotions. He cried out in fear, Good heavens! It was as if Gerard sensed his feelings. He did that just to show that he was fine and healthy. Although he was very attached to his disciple, he knew the time had come for him to leave and find his own path. Go, my disciple. Don't linger on our parting. Move forward with an iron will and don't look back. You are the successor to the greatest martial art in the world. In a certain village, at the village chief's building, a man with a frightened expression seemed to want to stop something. It's too dangerous. The village chief's face showed a glint of determination. "Chief, I still have to say this, even if they are nobles." Edward sensed the man's gaze, his own expression unchanging as he asked coldly, "What is it, village chief?" Though afraid, the village chief stepped forward resolutely to make his request. "I demand that you pay for the food and drink that you and your knights have been consuming." He angrily threw a gold coin, his eyes filled with disgust. "You disrespectful peasants, here, this should be enough." The village chief stared, stunned at the single gold coin in his hand. Seeing his expression, Edward thought smugly, this is probably the first time in their lives they've ever seen a gold ducat. But the village chief's next words were like a slap to his arrogant face. "Sir, this isn't nearly enough." Hearing this, he became furious and shouted, "What, you insolent cur! Do you think that just because I'm a noble I don't know the market prices? How dare you insult a knight?" Seeing him get punched by Edward, the other man cried out in terror, "Chief!" Two villagers stepped in front of the chief to protect him. They looked with hatred at Edward. "That damn noble. They're no different from robbers, not knights. They take over our homes, hoard our food, and pay with just one cheap ducat. They don't even consider the cost of transport and labor." Just then, Stefan entered and asked coldly, "What's going on, Sir Edward?" He was stunned for a moment, then put on a nonchalant expression and replied, "It's nothing, young Master Stefan." He stepped into the room and with the air of a superior lectured, "How pathetic. This is why you can't be lenient with peasants. Give them an inch and they'll forget their place." Tesrin remembered when he was Lepenhart holding a beautiful woman in his arms. He affectionately stroked Cyrus's head. "Why do you keep touching me?" She continuously caressed his bony chest. "I just like it." Lepenhart laughed in amusement. "What could you possibly like about this scrawny emaciated?" Cyrus smiled sensually. "It looks fragile and sharp, just like a well-forged sword." That was just the past. Back in the present, Tesron was crying a river. That was my body back then. But now, forget about being a sword. I'm no different from a final war golem made of stone. My body has become like this. At least I'm a lot taller than before. Cyrus must be 70 years old by now, which is about 17 in human years, right? This is the southern region of the Bailey Kingdom, the city of Crom. Since Cyrus will be sold around next year, she must be at the slave auction hall in the Duchy of Chatan right now. What should I do now? Destroy the auction hall and rescue Cyrus. No, if I make a scene, it will hinder the recovery of my magic power. It's better to solve this with money. The price of an elf slave is unimaginable, and right now I don't have a single coin, but that's all right. Because I have a powerful body, supreme skills, and memories of the future. Speaking of which, I remember there's an ancient ruin on the way to the Duchy of Chatan. Stefan urged impatiently. "Mage Todd, have you located the ruins yet?" He replied in a serious tone. "Please wait a little longer." This was a member of the Delphia Magic Tower, a mage specializing in the study of ancient ruins, Todd aged 35. Stefan looked ahead resolutely. "It's that place, isn't it?" Todd confirmed decisively. "I'm certain, young master." "That is the burial place of the great swordsman Sir Claude von Leotus Altion." It had been 3 days since Tesron left the city of Crom. He followed the central road towards the Hatan mountain range. He whispered in amazement, "Not only am I physically strong, but I don't even feel the cold. This body is insane." He said that the past kings would all go bare-chested in the winter, didn't he? I have no intention of doing that, though. The great secret technique that allows one to recall any memory at will, artificial recollection. I used it to search my memories of the ruins in the Hatan Mountains. Before I turned back time, a mage named Todd, whom I met while studying at the Delphia Magic Tower, said to investigate the ruins with the Marquis Altion's family. And it was right around this time that it all began. Actually, before I turned back time, I had been to those ruins before. Back then, I found the real relics which were buried underground and missed by Todd and his team. I made 2,000 gold coins by selling all of it, so it was quite a large profit. And just like that, Tesron pressed on resolutely towards his destination. Seeing the familiar scenery, he couldn't help but feel nostalgic. Cattle village, just as I remember. The villagers were anxiously debating. What should we do now? We absolutely cannot go near the Valley of Death. They argued fiercely. But they're demanding a guide. Don't you know what will happen if we refuse? You're right. After what happened to the village chief. Damn it, those disgusting nobles. Keep your voice down, what if they hear you? One man stepped forward and offered, "I'll go." Everyone worriedly looked at him. "Ted, you're going to go." Ted stood firm, declaring, "I'm the best climber in this village. I know that his wife and child were crying hysterically. "My love," the little girl called out in fear. "Daddy?" Ted could only sigh to himself. "I really don't want—" Seeing someone take the lead, the villagers' attitude immediately changed to support. "That's our Ted. You can do it. Don't you go back on your word now." Seeing this only made him feel more helpless. "I really don't want to go anymore." Suddenly, Tesron appeared out of nowhere. "If you don't want to go, then how about I go instead?" His face pressed right up against the window scared the daylights out of Ted. "What the hell?" He quickly raised his bow defensively. "Who's there?" Tesron quickly explained, "I'm just a traveler passing through. I just happened to overhear your story, that's all." Ted was still skeptical. Overheard who just happens to stick their head through someone else's roof. The village chief asked worriedly, "Do you even know this area well?" Tesron stated firmly, "I know it very well." The chief grew even more suspicious. "But you still want to enter the Valley of Death?" Tesron nodded in confirmation. "Well, yeah. I've been in there." Half believing, half doubting, the people asked again and again, "You might not know this, but no one has ever returned alive from the Valley of Death." "But you still want to go," Tesron stated bluntly. "Like I said, I've been in there before. Consider yourselves lucky. I'm saving a man who was as good as dead." The Valley of Death, also known as the Dungeon, is a remnant from the forgotten Silver Age. 50 years ago, there was a knight named Claude from the Marquessate of Altion. In his youth, at the age of 45, he awakened his aura and performed countless miracles, and his heroic deeds spread throughout the kingdom of Basili. However, great fame often leads to arrogance. Claude took a servant with him into the Valley of Death and perished there. The problem is the magic sword Altion that he carried never returned either. The magic sword Altion is the symbol of the Marquis Altion's family passed down for generations. The effort to retrieve the treasured sword continues even 50 years later, with the party being led by Stefan von Lepanto Altion. Tesron had successfully infiltrated their ranks. "So, he's Claude's grandson, huh?" He then had to watch them flirt. "Your presence is so majestic even without a horse. Truly a knight among knights." Stefan smiled back. "Relsia, thank you for brightening." Tesron observed silently. Next to him was an elven assassin. "Flirting in broad daylight like this. There's a priest in the group, Cillian. I wonder if this young priest can even use divine arts properly. And what's more, I can't believe someone with a face like that is a boy. I really need to talk to Todd, and I'm so happy to see him again after all these years, but I can't find a single chance to talk because those two are always chatting. Todd was just like that when he talked to me back when we were young, too. But why is the atmosphere between those two so strange?" Suddenly, Tesron's face paled as a thought struck him. "Don't tell me. It's that guy. No way. Todd is a good person. It can't be." As he was lost in thought, Edward started a conversation with Tesron. "You made the right He replied politely, "You mean about being the guide? It's no big deal?" Edward stated bluntly, "But the villagers are all cowards always walking on eggshells." Tesron mused sympathetically. "From their perspective, it's normal to be afraid." Edward scoffed arrogantly. "What's there to be afraid of when the brave knights of the kingdom are with—" Tesron grimaced hearing that. "Seriously, these damn knights are disgusting. They say there's no knight who isn't arrogant. The knighthood is truly a breeding ground for narcissists." Suddenly, the surrounding silence was shattered by an extremely loud noise. The snow-covered forest began to shake violently. Countless strange figures shot up into the sky. They were revealed to be winged monsters aggressively swooping in to attack. Taking advantage of their agile wings, the monsters shrieked. Stefan's party quickly gave the order. "Ambush, get into formation." The monsters attacked with their sharp-clawed feet. Relsia drew her sword and took the lead, making a show of force. "How dare a low-class creature like you target a human blessed by Sayer?" Stefan also took a defensive stance. Altion knights destroy the enemy. From a distance, Todd, in his role as a mage, cast a wide-area spell, Chain Flame. He incinerated countless monsters, temporarily pushing them back. Cillian quickly joined the battle by supporting the entire team. "Oh, Philinins, please grant them indomitable courage!" Tesron just stood quietly on the sidelines, observing the battle's progress. "They're not too bad, huh? Especially that kid Stefan. His swordsmanship is better than I thought." Of course, that's from a mage's perspective. From a warrior's point of view, it's still incredibly sloppy. No wonder Master Gerard was so proud of his That said, he glanced behind him. Stefan had indeed brought a few orcs to carry the luggage. The winged monsters quickly changed their target, attacking the harmless orc group. They could only brace for impact, not daring to fight back. Just then, Tessran unleashed a devastating punch, taking down one of the winged monsters. He didn't just take it down, he blew its body to pieces. Tessran decided to step in and protect the orc porters. Seriously, no one is even looking out for them. Everything is happening just as Tessran remembers. According to Todd's adventure log, that guide is supposed to die here. The winged monsters are attacking in a frenzy. The leader of this expedition is Stefan of Altian. Amidst the battle screams echo everywhere. Is anyone there? Help me, Tessran silently observes. While you couldn't call, he doesn't seem to care about those around him. But doesn't that make him a bad person too? No wonder the guide ended up dead. Cillian hurries to evacuate everyone. Hurry, hide behind that tree. Tessran nods in approval. At least she seems to. The winged monsters change their attack pattern, launching countless sharp feathers. With his iron-hard body, Tessran just stands there calmly. These things don't even hurt. Just as he's chilling, a feather hits him in the eye. My eye. It hurts, sure, but Tessran takes out the enemy with a single punch. After all these years of training, do I even have any tears left to cry? Stefan urgently asks his subordinate, Casualty report. Are the mage and the saintess safe? Edward quickly reports, they're both fine. Tessran senses their blatant favoritism. Hey, what about me? Don't you guys care at all? Ignoring him, Stefan heroically declares, Glory to the Knights of Altian. Rest and enjoy this victory. Tessran seizes the opportunity to approach Todd. I have to use this chance to talk to him. Thank you, mage. I was safe thanks to you. He just replies coldly, It was nothing. Tessran continues the conversation. I heard you're from the Defia Magic Tower. I happen to have a friend there. At this, Todd seems to pay attention. Your Tessran skillfully fishes for information. Do you know someone named Leppenhart? Todd recognizes the name immediately. You mean Leppenhart? I never expected him to have a friend as muscular as you. He's really so kind and lovely. Seeing his sleazy expression gives Tessran the creeps. Todd asks curiously. But why do you ask? Tessran quickly comes up with an excuse. I was just curious how he's been doing, if anything unusual has happened. Todd answers enthusiastically. He's fine studying magic diligently as always. Tessran skillfully moves to the next topic. Have you noticed anything strange about him in recent years? Todd pauses to think for a moment. Something strange, I'm not sure. His nose is as high as ever, his eyes sparkle like jewels, his skin is so smooth. Tessran instantly knows this guy is a twisted freak. He's obsessed with the human body like Gerard, but in a completely different way. Oh God, what should I do? Should I just beat this bastard to death right here? Tessran forces himself to endure it. I was talking about his behavior. Have you seen him act strangely? Even while drooling, Todd feigns indifference. Honestly, I don't really pay much attention to his affairs. Cillian approaches and asks kindly, Excuse me, are you hurt anywhere? Tessran quickly points towards the group of orcs. I'm fine. Why don't you go worry about those orcs? They insistently claim, We're all fine, Saintess. We're not hurt. It's okay, we're really fine. But Cillian still uses her holy magic to heal them. Sit still. As she's healing them, the knights come over to bother her. They'll recover on their own, Saintess. Why are you wasting your mana on them? Tessran witnesses the whole unjust scene. Even though she's kind and treats their wounds, she treats them like pets, not people. Human beliefs and values are the biggest obstacle. It seems demi-humans still have a long way to go to be treated equally. The orcs, however, are deeply grateful to Cillian. Thank you, Saintess. Thank you. Stefan arrogantly orders Tessran, Hey guide, hurry up and lead the way! Extremely annoyed, he makes his attitude obvious. Go straight and then turn left, you'll find a stream. Be careful. Stefan sneers and nitpicks. What's with that attitude, got a problem? Tessran replies robotically. No, none at all. The group continues to move for several more hours. The knights' morale has plummeted. If the basilisks and wild wolves were bad enough, now there's a whole bunch of ogres. How can there be so many monsters in such a small mountain region? Turns out it was Tessran's mischief. What else? It's because I ignored the safe path and just charged straight ahead. He even provokes Stefan. Do you need to rest for a bit? Not wanting to lose face, he strains his voice and yells, Everyone on your feet! Tessran thinks gleefully to himself. The knight is arrogant, the saintess is short-sighted, and the mage is cunning and sly. Too bad for them deep down, I'm a mage too. To be fair, I didn't trick them. I led them on the shortest path as they requested. It's not like I intentionally brought them here to torture them or anything. Stefan comments wearily. No wonder this is where Lord Claude lost his life. I never expected so many monsters in such a small mountain. Suddenly his gaze wavers intensely. Their destination, the ruins, has appeared before them. Stefan exclaims excitedly, I think we're here. Edward joyfully confirms, there's no doubt, Sir Stefan. He joyfully announces, it's the ancient Paulton ruins. Stefan's party quickly moves closer to the entrance of the ruins. Before long, they were standing in front of a giant door. Todd quickly makes his assessment. This is the entrance. It seems safe to enter, sir. Stefan eagerly gives the order to his members. Excellent. Everyone get ready. Tessran slyly suggests, well then, I'll wait for you all here. Stefan snaps irritably. Your job is done. You can retreat now. He remains stubbornly persistent. I can't possibly go back to the village alone. Stefan flatly refuses. I understand. I'll have someone escort you back since you've done such a good job guiding us. Tessran's anger flares as he realizes these guys are trying to screw him over. So you're planning to leave me behind here. Meanwhile, Stefan is busy giving a speech to his troops. The Almighty slumbers in this place. Follow in his legacy. Let us find the magic sword of Altion. Tessran just stood outside, smiling sinisterly. Good luck. Before he could finish, Stefan had already stormed inside. Forward, you valiant knights of Altion! The noisy crowd was gone, leaving Tessran all alone. But that was all he needed. Well then, I suppose I should get to my own business. The ancient ruins of Paulton, shrouded in mystery and overrun by monsters, were actually built in ancient times as an ordinary military logistics center. Though I say ordinary, the technology from that era was anything but trivial compared to today. Tessran entered the ruins alone. It's been a while since I've been back here. I used to explore this place with Cirrus. Those were good times. He fondly recalled the memories of traveling with his beloved. Lepenhart, a spirit is whispering to me. Back then he had praised her so happily. A secret passage. Brilliant Cirrus. Following the spirit's guidance, Cirrus directly opened the hidden entrance. The memory that followed made Tessran blush beet red. I'm shy, don't do that. I'll kiss you as a reward. What was I doing with Cirrus in the middle of a dangerous place like this? We were so bold. If I remember correctly, the code has to do with the balance between aqua and terra, even though it feels like I already have the answer in my hands. But with the meager amount of mana in this body, I can't do a thing. The biggest weakness of this body is its stupid brain. After a moment of concentration, Tessran managed to open the hidden path. Success. I'd better be careful with these clothes. I spent 10 silver coins on them after all. All right then, let's test my physical strength. As he was warming up, Tessran heard a blood-curdling scream echo from the distance. Huh! It wasn't just one, but countless strange screams. What's going on? Why are the people who went inside screaming all the way over here? Wait a minute. Now that I think about it, doesn't this secret passage lead straight to the 3rd basement level? If this path is open, that means there's a sign of intrusion. At that moment, Tessran suddenly remembered something. A sign of intrusion. He declared decisively, I remember now. This place was a military facility after all. It must have an anti-intrusion security system. I never paid attention to it before because it was just me and Cirrus. But now those Altian people are in the basement, right? They must have triggered a trap and been thrown down to the 2nd basement level. Tessran's face twisted in horror. Oh, hell. Just as he predicted, the battle below was raging fiercely. Seeing one of his key members sent flying, Stefan screamed in panic, Sir Edward! He tried to peer into the darkness before him. What is that thing? Looming in the distance was an old, battered scythe. Its wielder was a grotesque grell beast. Stefan realized with a paralyzing shock, we can't beat it. How can a mere human fight against a demon like that? Cillian used his power to heal the injured. Oh, Philinins, please shine your healing light upon us. The soldier, who was just heavily wounded, was now almost fully recovered. Thank you, Saintess. He smiled on the outside, but thought to himself, don't waste your breath thanking me. I need you alive so I can stay. I can't believe the whole floor collapsed. We were almost all killed. Then he spoke up. Thank you, mage. We only survived thanks to your protection spell. Todd raised a doubt. Even if we escape the collapsing floor, can we overcome what lies ahead? The entire group stood there, their eyes fixed on what was in front of them. Just then a soldier was sent flying. A monster struck from the doorway, sending everyone into a panic. Monster! Oh my god, run save yourselves. At that moment, Cillian stood his ground and began to chant, O Philinins, let your wrathful light shine upon that creature. O Philinins, grant them burning courage. He couldn't help but judge the fleeing crowd. They call themselves knights, yet most of them have already fallen. What a waste of those muscular bodies. Then he continued to cast his spell, "Oh, Philinins, grant them burning courage." The knights were then blessed with incredible strength. Todd watched in horror from the side as the knights went berserk. I don't know how many blessings she cast, but they've all gone crazy like they're on some kind of combat drug. Valiant knights of Altheon, let's show that monster our true courage. The monster and the knights clashed without mercy. On his side, Todd also began to cast a spell. "Saphir de Clote, O Mother Earth, please extend your hand and reclaim what is yours." A sword was summoned. Meanwhile, a stone-faced Relsia fought on. She fights with such resolve. Her gaze was piercingly cold. But just then, she was sent flying by a monster's punch. Relsia braced herself with a hand on the ground. She collapsed weakly, stammering, Can I be of any help to you, Master?" Stefan rushed forward to praise her. "Well done, Relsia." With just 2 incredibly cool slashes, he successfully defeated the monster. Watching this spectacular scene, the knights were overjoyed. I'd expect nothing less from Sir Stefan, the Knight of Valor. He glanced over and cursed, "You cowardly beasts." Then he announced loudly, "Everyone calm yourselves. This is the very place where Sir Claude lost his life." Just then, a huge explosion erupted above them. The knights were thrown into disarray. A giant monster appeared. It let out a massive roar. A group of knights was sent flying. At that moment, Stefan shouted to boost their morale. "Do not fear, you've prepared yourselves for this, haven't you? How can you call yourselves the valiant knights of Altheon if you don't?" However, it wasn't very effective as the knights were still being routed and were fleeing. The fierce gale forced Stefan to raise his arm to shield himself. He looked ahead, gritting his teeth in frustration. "Damn it, we can't lose like this. We will not fall without a fight. In the name of Altheon, I am the Knight of Valor." Shooting strike. However, his cool charge was met with a devastating punch from the monster that nearly caved his face in. He was sent flying into the distance to the utter astonishment of the other soldiers. The heavy impact as he slammed into the ground left everyone around him in shock. That single blow took Stefan down completely, leaving him unable to get up. Over here, the mage Killian began to chant an attack spell. "Philinins, please annihilate these wicked beings with your light." He then launched a direct attack at the monster's head. After being hit, the monster glanced over at him. Cillian was stunned to see that it had no effect. Immediately after, the monster advanced toward him to attack. Cillian squeezed his eyes shut, bracing for the impact. The monster attacked without mercy. Cillian looked up stunned for a long moment. Standing before him was Tesron. He made an incredibly badass entrance. Suddenly, a shadow enveloped Tesron, piquing his curiosity. But moments later, seeing the monster collapse, Cillian couldn't believe his eyes. What the hell? It died in just one— No wonder I almost died when I took a punch from Tesron. Tesron glanced behind him. Looking at the crowd of injured people lying around, he made a decision. Well, I should probably get them to safety first. However, at that moment, monsters were still continuously pouring out of the gate. Todd and Cillian were bewildered. Who in the world is that person? Carrying the heavily injured Relsia, Tesron fought monsters as he made his way out. "Get out of my sight." A long while later, Stefan finally managed to open his eyes. Edward quickly checked on him. "You're awake." Stefan was stunned by the sight of the scattered skeleton soldiers. "What's going on?" Edward began to explain hesitantly. "Well, it's like this." After hearing the story, he shouted in disbelief, "What?" So he was a warrior all along. "It seems I failed to recognize such a brave man. May I know your name?" Tesron replied in a low voice. "I should use a fake name to hide my identity." "Leifin? That's right?" "Todd knows I'm at the Magic Tower, right?" "Yes, I'm Leifin," Edward thought with suspicion. "Leifin, I've never heard that name before. If he's really that powerful, his name should be famous by now." Stefan eagerly continued. "May I ask what clan you belong to?" Tesron answered nonchalantly. "A clan, I don't have one." Hearing this, Stefan grew even more bitter. "What a commoner, I thought you were the scion of some noble house on a training journey. To think you're just some wild savage with nothing to your name. How disgraceful." "Well then, you must have taken care of the monsters we left behind. Your skills are decent enough. We welcome your assistance." Tesron sharply knocked Stefan's hand off him. "How can you remember the situation so clearly? I suppose that means you have no real skills, then." Stefan roared in fury. "What did you say?" "How insolent. Show some respect for House Alchin." Edward had to step in. "Please calm down, young master. What would a savage like him know of etiquette anyway?" Finding the thought reasonable, Stefan lowered his voice. "I suppose you're right. He doesn't even have a clan. In that case, can you tell me who taught you to fight? Tesran deliberately concealed the truth. I just picked things up here and there. Master Gerald is famous across the entire continent. I can't just drop his name like that. Besides, I don't want that man to know where I am. He recalled the former Fist King. Hey, disciple, I've come up. Stefan kept pressing, but with skills like yours. Tesran quickly changed the subject. Shouldn't you be tending to the injured instead of wasting your time on me? Edward astutely noted his casual way of speaking. It sounds so natural. Tesran pointed to the wounded, continuing firmly, Aren't they more of a priority than I am? Being a man of experience, Edward couldn't help but feel suspicious. And yet it seems he's completely unaware of his own arrogance. That kind of attitude can only come from someone used to commanding others. It even makes you forget how young he is. Unless he's just incredibly insolent. Perhaps he's royalty from another nation. That's it. I finally understand the nature of his arrogance. He speaks like an elder addressing someone younger. What a strange man. Cillian approached and asked Tesran curiously, Excuse me, you're Leifin, right? How tall are you? He hesitated, estimating around 1.92 meters. Cillian eagerly pressed, What about your weight? Tesran felt something was off, but answered anyway, I've never actually weighed myself. Cillian excitedly grabbed onto him. How did you train to get a body like this? Tesran answered cautiously. I just got beat up a lot, ate a lot, and lifted heavy things. Why is he suddenly being so friendly to me? Cillian Philmarsis. After losing his parents at a young age, he was sent to a church-run orphanage where he was always teased by the other children for being frail and too pretty. Hearing Tesran's answer, his face lit up even more. Just as I thought, they say a true warrior never reveals his training secrets. And so Cillian began to yearn for the things he didn't have, a strong body, a confident laugh, a deep, warm voice. He once dreamed of becoming a monk, one who expresses his faith through his body. But reality was completely different from his expectations. His height never changed, puberty never came, and his hair grew uncontrollably. He tried to build muscle to overcome his weak constitution, but healing his sore muscles with holy power only caused it to increase, and so muscular men became the object of his envy. Cillian stared at Tesran with a strange admiration. He's so big. And handsome, too. His discomfort was obvious. What's with that look on his face? I'm going to patrol the entrance area. He intended to slip away quietly, but Cillian insisted on following him. Let me go. Thinking fast, he replied, What if someone gets injured while you're away? He managed to stop Cillian, but Stefan quickly joined in. Then I'll go with him. Relsia, you support the others here. She complied obediently. Yes, master. Stefan approached Tesran, his voice low and probing. Is that all right with you? He couldn't be bothered to reply. Do what? And so the two of them began to patrol together. Stefan was still bitter. Even if it was a coincidence, I can't accept being saved by a savage. He must be so proud of himself for helping a knight. The fact that he's patrolling without knowing his place is proof that he looks down on us knights. Arrogant fool. Let's see how you act when a demon appears. This time I'll show you my true skills and teach you your place. The thought of seeing Tesran kneeling at his feet excited him immensely. That's our young master Stefan for you. As he was fantasizing, Stefan took a critical hit. I hope a demon shows up soon. The one who struck him was, of course, Tesran. We're here. You should rest for a bit. Just after seeing Stefan off, a group of skeleton soldiers appeared and blocked his path. They charged forward aggressively to attack. Tesran casually warmed up with a few basic moves. After taking down the skeletons, he quickly pursued his intended target. Now then, why don't I take this opportunity to find some treasure? After all, I've already dealt with all the nuisances. He entered a hidden secret chamber alone. Relying on the memories from his past life, Tesran fumbled around searching everywhere. Good. 50 gold coins from the Silver Age. I remember them being somewhere around here. Found it. What he found was the Bag of Holding. The Bag of Holding, a magical tool that allows one to store items up to 10 times the bag's volume. Tesran muttered excitedly. The weight is reduced to 1/10 of the total. And there were a few other things besides this, right? The celestial censer, the returning dagger, a monocrystal. All priceless items. All. After waking up from being knocked out a second time, Stefan held his head and wondered, what happened? Tesran had already finished swiping all the treasures. Oh, you're awake? Well, these guys are the ones who hit you from behind. You went down in an instant. Stefan cursed under his breath, embarrassed. Damn it. Why is nothing going my way today? A cunning smile spread across Tesran's face. Don't mention it. I'll just have to knock you out again after all. While Leppenhart was looting the ruins, Stefan had to be knocked unconscious 3 more times. I hope I didn't hit a vital spot on his head. Well, even if something happens, it's probably fine. He's rich after all. Even Stefan himself felt uneasy. Something strange. How was I on guard and still didn't sense anything? Am I getting sick? I'll have to take some medicine when I get back. Meanwhile, Tesron came to an excited decision. I'm out of space. It looks like the path ahead has been pretty well cleared. Let's head back. Stefan could only obey. Yes. Then he led the troop of knights forward. Cillian kept trying to cozy up to Tesron. Sir Leifin, are you royalty? He casually denied it. Royalty, I'm just a commoner. Cillian grew even more interested. A commoner, you say? But the way you said that, Tesron asked, suspiciously. What do you— He answered honestly. That's not it. It's just that you talk like you're superior to everyone else. Of course, a warrior must be confident, and I understand the way you talk to Sir Stefan, but I didn't think you'd be so informal even with Sir Edward, who is over 40. Only then did Tesron remember. I'm only 22 years old. I'll be more mindful next time. I don't socialize much, so my etiquette— The troop of knights quickly arrived at a large door. Stefan took the lead and opened the door first. What appeared inside left both Tesron and Cillian completely stunned. A ferocious beast roared in fury. Tesron couldn't hide his own astonishment. A grell beast! Why is it here? I don't remember there being a monster like that. Stefan quickly assumed a battle stance. So that demon is the guardian of these ruins. Only now did Tesron realize. I see, it just hasn't been eliminated yet. Let's go back. It's too difficult to confront it with the group we have. Suddenly a knight shouted loudly, "Young master, look at the sword that demon is holding!" Stefan immediately recognized the sword's identity. The demon sword Altian. Edward frantically tried to stop him. "Young master, are you really planning to fight that demon? A treasure is right before my eyes, so I have to risk my life to retrieve it. What else is there to do?" Tesrin spoke up, trying to persuade Stefan. "It's too dangerous right now. Now that we know its location, it would be better to return and gather more forces." Stefan stubbornly yelled, "What are you talking about? Are you telling me to just stand by and watch the sword of the great knight be defiled by that demon? I cannot retreat. No matter what, I will reclaim that sword at any cost, even if it's in the grasp of absolute death itself." Stefan heroically called out to his men, "Everyone raise your swords!" His brainless action left Tesron at a loss for words. This absolute fool. Destroyed within a spatial rift, these ruins from the Silver Age still have a self-operating system to compensate for any shortcomings, and a creature from another world was sucked in by the defense system due to a technical glitch. In other words, these creatures called Dungeon Guardians were living peaceful lives until they were suddenly kidnapped and forced into unpaid labor. And when a creature becomes one with the ruins system, it grows significantly stronger. Tesron calmly assessed, "Furthermore, that is the demon that killed Sir Claude, a key wielder. If a demon stronger than a Tagrel is the Dungeon Guardian, its power will be on a completely different level." Stefan hastily gave the order. "That monster is bound in chains. Are you all really afraid of something that's tied down like that?" Tesrin coldly reminded him. "Are you seriously going to fight that monster? You don't stand a chance. All of you will be wiped out." Edward tried to save face for Stefan. "We are grateful for your help, but it seems you are just a wanderer who knows nothing of honor. There are things in this world worth sacrificing one's life for. No, really, you are completely out of your depth in this. Knights of House Altian, sacrifice yourselves for honor, and prove your courage." Watching the knights stubbornly charge forward, Tesron thought with dismay. "They can't even handle a Tagrel. How are they supposed to kill this thing?" asked. Cillian also quickly joined the battle. "O clerics of Philinins, grant us the blessing of the goddess." The knights charged forward with gusto. "Begone, you vile demon!" The ferocious grell beast tore through the first line. Tesrin muttered to himself in frustration, "I told you this would happen." He dodged lightly and commented with a sigh, "And there goes another one." What a bunch of walking punching bags. Stefan's voice continued to echo across the battlefield. "Hold the formation. We are the Knights of House Altian. Our bravery will make that demon tremble." Tesrin calculated silently in his head. "I think I've more or less figured out what kind of person Stefan is. No matter what I say, he'll never listen. But Sir Edward seems to be a reasonable man. I can probably persuade him." And Stefan was somehow still holding his own against the grell beast. To put it nicely, he was floating like a butterfly and stinging like a bee. To be honest, he was just landing cheap shots. Cillian, standing on the sidelines, continuously used holy magic for support. "O great Philinins, smash that evil creature with your mace of light!" A barrage of holy maces rained down upon the Grell Beast. Cillian continuously followed up with more attacks. Witness the true power of Philinins. O great Philinins, bring down 1,000 holy maces upon it. His attack successfully held back the Grell Beast. Relcia seized the opportunity, leaping onto the enemy's head. She distracted it with a flurry of stabs, and Stefan quickly closed in to land a critical blow. Well done, Relcia. Her skill truly impressed Tesron. That girl Relcia seems very skilled, even more so than Sir Edward. She might be the second strongest in this group. Perhaps I've underestimated them. Just then, Todd joined the fray. Rakua de Altun Varus. O cold winds of the north, gather in my hands and sweep all away in a... He finished the incantation, conjuring a raging vortex. Countless blue sensor lines appeared on the ceiling. Then suddenly they turned a warning yellow. The chains holding the Grell Beast began to resonate, chanting an incantation, Hepin Raltar Philoda Rentu Vide Phase Taron. Current defense system failing. Activating Phase 2. Tesrin realized in horror that its chains had been shattered. Damn it! It shot upwards with a furious roar. Using its massive body, it effortlessly took down countless knights. Its claws slashed endlessly and ferociously. Stefan was still trying to land a few sneak attacks. Die Grell Beast! Once freed from its chains, every single one of the Grell Beast's attacks was devastating. Stefan took a direct hit, coughing up blood. Seeing him sent flying, Edward cried out in shock, "Sir Stefan!" Though heavily injured, he managed to get back up. Edward sighed in relief. Thank goodness you're all right. Relcia quickly rushed in to assist. She leapt high into the air, her movements light and graceful. Relcia's famous sword flurry fiercely wounded the Grell Beast. But in the end, she was also struck by a furious blow. In agony, Relcia gritted her teeth so hard they bled. And that wasn't all. The Grell Beast's mouth began to spew crimson flames. It wildly shot a pillar of fire straight at the group of knights. They scrambled to get out of the way, their ranks broken, and their situation looking hopeless. The power of the Grell Beast's flames was so intense that it incinerated everything in its path. A massive explosion erupted right where Cillian was standing. He was too stunned to dodge in time. Suddenly, Cillian's eyes widened. It was Tesron who had lunged forward just in time to shield him from the deadly flames. Leifin! Using his aura, he deflected the enemy's flames. Tesron spoke with an imposing air. My apologies. My carelessness kept me from arriving sooner. The enemy's power was truly something to be wary of. Tesron wondered to himself, do I even stand a chance against the Grell Beast? To be honest, I'm curious myself about the current limits of this body. Can its martial arts skills really hold up against that monster? If I were still a mage, I would have stayed far away from such a reckless gamble. But now, I'm a warrior. The mere thought of facing a powerful opponent sends a thrill through me. It's a feeling I never had in my past life. Perhaps I've truly become a martial artist. My master would be so proud. He always taught me in an uncertain situation, throw the first punch. Focusing his energy, Tesron quickly threw his fist. He deftly avoided a counterattack from the Grell Beast. A glancing blow to his shoulder made Tesron realize something a steel sword can't pierce this body, but a magic sword probably could. Before he could react, the Grell Beast raised its leg, preparing to kick. Tesron managed to brace himself against its attack. His entire body was sent flying backward. Leifin! Cillian screamed frantically. Tesron rose like a god. I'm all right. Cillian was truly in awe of his spirit. My god, is that the power of a Kai user? Tesron casually stretched his limbs. If I'd held on just a little longer, I could have found an opening to counterattack. Blocking has practically become a reflex after so many training matches with Master Gerard. I guess it's time to sharpen my skills. Suddenly, the Grell Beast roared in some unknown language. Tesron paid it no mind. I have no idea what you're saying, but bring it on. And so the two of them rushed at each other, trading frantic blows. The evenly matched battle made Stefan realize with a start. That's key. How could someone like him, a no-name with no background, awaken his ki while I, a nobleman, cannot? What the hell is going on? This can't be real. Having found a worthy opponent, the Grell Beast let out a thunderous, furious roar. Stefan wondered in a panic, who in the world is he? Where did he come from? Just who is that monster? The frenzied Grell Beast swung its sword down, but Tesron easily dodged to the side. The ground beneath his feet cracked from the force of its blow. As I exchanged blows with the Grell Beast, I was surprised by how effective my previous training was. Its attacks are so simple and predictable. His punch slammed unforgivingly into its sword arm. The sickening crunch of breaking bone echoed through the air. The Ruin's Guardian doesn't fall even when grievously wounded. The Ruins will continuously channel mana to heal its wounds. It opened its massive maw, wanting to gather power for a huge blast of fire to incinerate the insolent bastard who dared to hurt it Tezron. Just before the blast of fire reached him, he dashed forward and easily dodged it. He leapt up, grabbing onto its arm, and thought, "Time to practice some joint locks. This is aerial combat practice. And this is striking practice. This thing really is the most perfect punching bag in the world." Before everyone's eyes, Tezron was like a machine of destruction beating the Grell Beast until it had no strength left to fight back. Feeling everyone's eyes on me, I glanced over and thought, however, I can't enjoy this forever. Should I use the World Ender Horn to finish it in one blow? No, doing that would probably bring this whole place down and we'd all be buried alive. These guys are just getting in the way. Just then, Todd shouted a reminder, "Use your sword, Lepin. If we cast a holy spell on your aura-infused sword, you can finish it." Tezron thought irritably. "You think I don't know that?" While fending off the Grell Beast's attacks, he said, "I don't know how to infuse a weapon with aura." Todd asked in disbelief, "What, you don't know how?" Seeing his incredulous look, Tezron felt both embarrassed and annoyed. "I only know how to channel aura within my body." Todd was still in disbelief. "No way." Tezron cut him off, annoyed. "That's how my school trains got it." Just then Cillian called out to him, "Lepin." Getting called out by one person after another in the middle of a fight, he snapped his head around and glared, thinking, "What now?" Cillian ignored the ferocity in his eyes and asked, "Your body is pretty tough, right?" Though he didn't understand why he was asking, he still answered, "Tough? Well, it's pretty solid." He saw the other man light up with excitement and exclaim, "Good! I will cast Phila's blessing. I will grant you the blessing of Philinance." "Oh, great Philinance, please bless this sword in the name of the goddess." Tezron's pearly white teeth clenched with a sharp click. Having received his blessing, Tezron's strength now approached the peak of humanity. He grabbed the Grell Beast's arms and, gritting his teeth, hoisted it into the air. With pure, unadulterated strength, he effortlessly threw it straight up. Its body slammed helplessly into the ceiling. Tezron looked back at Cillian in disbelief. "This is Holy Strike, a holy spell for melee weapons. Did he just cast a spell meant for metal on a living person?" Seeing that the beast was beaten half to death from being thrown, he became incredibly excited. "It worked. Hurry up and punch that damn demon to death." Seeing the beautiful maiden-like face spewing such venomous words, Tezron couldn't help but think, so aggressive, but with such a pretty face. Let's end this quickly. He swung his leg up in an overhead kick, smashing it straight into its throat. Holy kick. Holy knee. Veins bulged on his face. His fist tightened, muscles bulging as he prepared his thunderous punch. With this world-shaking punch, the Grell Beast's entire body was sent flying. The chains on its body shattered from the impact. A move he called Holy Punch. At this point, it could only roar in pain, fear, and utter despair. A thunderous explosion rang out. And just like that, Tezron had smashed it to pieces with a single punch. Cillian stared, stunned at the brutal scene. In his eyes, Tezron had become a true man. The disdain in Cillian's eyes was gone, replaced by a pink haze of infatuated admiration for his masculine power. The complex patterns on the ceiling began to glow. Then they suddenly flickered and vanished. Looking at its ruined corpse, Cillian hesitated slightly. "Is it over?" Tezron, still feeling the effects of the blessing, spoke up quickly. "Hey, dispel the spell already." Stefan, helped up by Edward, asked shakily, "You're Lepin, right? So you've been hiding your true strength all this time. You must think we're a joke. I admit you're strong, but I will not forgive you for trampling on a knight's honor. Were you laughing at us while we struggled?" Tezron had no idea where he was coming from. "What, I never laughed at you guys." To laugh at someone, you first have to actually pay attention to them. I didn't even bother looking your way. Seeing Tezron's back turned to him, he went mad trying to draw his sword for a fight. "What did you say? How dare you turn your back on me, model?" He paid no mind and bent down to pick up the sword. The other man, already weakened, lunged for it and missed, becoming even more unstable and stumbling to one side. When he stood up, he saw the man in the middle of a fall and looked on confused. In the end, Stefan just rolled down the slope like a log, much to Tezron's bewilderment. Both embarrassed and angry, he sat up and questioned him furiously. "How dare you dodge my sword?" Tezron couldn't understand the man's crazy behavior. He offered the sword his tone like he was placating a small child. "Hey, I never laughed at you, so get up and take this. Isn't this what you all were making such a fuss about?" Edward, now quite displeased by the man's foolish actions, gave him a mocking look and then announced to everyone, "He shows no greed even when faced with such a rare and valuable item. This is a true warrior." Stefan could barely endure the humiliation. "Damn it! Hearing that, he just scoffed to himself. Greed, please. This is just a second-rate weapon compared to the ones I used to make in my past life. I even mass-produced them. Here, take this, and this one is yours. Seeing that things were settled, Tezron ushered everyone toward the exit. We should head back now. There's nothing left for you here, right? The old man, now looking at him with new eyes, laughed heartily and replied, Yes, let's go home. Only Stefan remained consumed by his hatred. Cattle village. After returning to the village, Cillian began going from house to house, treating each of the sick villagers one by one. He watched this phony act and scoffed inwardly. First he heals people, now he's handing out gold to the villagers. He sure knows how to win people over. And considering the reputation the Philinance Church is getting because of him, it's incredibly good publicity for a very low cost. Meanwhile, Stefan's group had already set out leaving the village. He gave the order with a blank expression. Lord Edward, I need you to investigate that young man named Lepin. The old man smiled brightly and replied, I thought as much. I knew someone with his abilities would catch your eye, my lord. Hearing that, the jealousy inside him flared up uncontrollably. There's no way he's better than me. At that moment, Tezron also began to leave the village. Looking at the road ahead, he said aloud to himself, All right, it's time to go see Cirrus. Hey, by the way, why do you keep following me? Cillian, embarrassed, tried to think of a reasonable explanation. Have you heard of pilgrim monks? They spread the goddess's blessings while also caring for her followers. I have, Tezron replied nonchalantly. It's called a pilgrimage, and most of them die along the way. As if he'd found his reason, the boy said, I was planning to return to the church, but now I've decided to walk the path of a pilgrim monk. And if it's possible, I want to travel with the strongest person I've ever met. In a certain mansion. An angry voice echoed down the hallway. Did you even train it properly? Seeing the man's anger, the butler quickly bowed low. My apologies, young Master Vere. I did my best. Cirrus's attitude made him unable to control his anger. He yelled, A spirit is supposed to be loyal to its master, offering both body and heart, isn't that right? Verette heir to the Karen Guild. No wonder she was so cheap. A demon-slaying spirit, all right. Why is she so arrogant? She's just a spirit. Hearing him insult her, she spoke softly in explanation. I was born this way. Her nonchalant attitude only made him more furious. Those eyes, they need to be dealt with. Cirrus, completely unconcerned, retorted, My eyes have always been this way. Verette was driven mad by her talking back to everything he said. He screamed, demanding to send her back. Butler, we need to buy a better one. I don't care how much it costs. I bought this one because it was cheap. Who knew it'd be defective? Take her back. At Elvenheim, the traditional spirit slave auction of the Chetan Kingdom, a spirit known only as number 148 was being returned for the third time. At that moment, she had no idea that Tezron, the one who would save her, had already begun his journey to see her again. The Chetan Kingdom is a merchant nation located on the northern edge of the continent. Possessing a strategic position bordering many nations, the country has become increasingly prosperous, benefiting from the bustling trade routes along the Juran River. And we have arrived at the kingdom's capital, Jeplin, the bustling heart of the nation. Just as the information suggested, this place is truly prosperous and bustling. The streets are practically packed with people and merchants. Cillian was dazzled by the hustle and bustle. No wonder they call this the top merchant city on the continent. It's so lively. Tezron, with his wealth of knowledge, shared a fact about the place. I heard this entire city was founded by a rich merchant. He bought the land from the Graham Kingdom. That's why merchants are always favored here, and everything revolves around money. Cirrus is here. Cillian, with his small frame, could barely keep up with his pace. He had to shout from behind to remind him, Hey, can you slow down a bit? Are you trying to show off your long legs? Just then, a conversation caught his attention. In an alley, a man named Tarek was holding a wooden club and ordering his soldiers, Hold him tight. The bald man kneeling on the ground was pleading continuously, Please, sir? Contempt and annoyance at being slighted flashed in the old man's eyes. How dare a beggar like you insult the Rolfine Guild, Tarek, head of the Rolfine Guild? I'll teach you some manners, you disgusting beggar. I'll hit you 30 times, and I'll give you 30 gold coins. This was the first time Cillian had ever seen such a violent act. His face flushed with anger. What did I just witness? Are you okay, sir? The old man, clutching his bloody head, answered in a small voice. Thank you. Seeing the injured man, he couldn't contain his anger. Who was that despicable man? Come on, let's find the guards. But seeing the gold coin on the ground, the man broke into a greedy and satisfied smile, stopping him. It's fine. With this much money, I can start a new life here. Cillian couldn't believe he would endure that just for money. What did you say? You did that just so that man would give you a gold coin? Tezron, who had seen many scenes like this, said, I told you, in this place money is everything. I've traveled a lot and I thought I understood the world, but I've never seen a place like this before. If you break the law, you get fined. As long as you can pay the fine, no one ever goes to jail. Cillian couldn't understand why he would come to such a filthy place. So what are you doing in a place like this, Lepin? Tezron answered hesitantly. I came to buy. Hearing that, he grew even more curious. Buy what? Thinking about what it meant to buy that here, Tezron's face beaded with sweat. I came to buy an elf. Cillian immediately gave him a disgusted look. In that case, I guess you're no different from those people. Tezron was frustrated but couldn't explain. I understand why you'd say that, but it's not what you think. Cillian didn't believe him at all, still asking with that look of disgust. Then what is it exactly? Thinking about his own identity, he decided to accept the crime the boy accused him of. I can't possibly tell him about my past life. All right, I'll just say you're right. After he admitted it, Cillian stopped calling him Tezron and switched to calling him, Hey man. Hearing that, he found it a bit funny. You say that as if I'm not a man. Cillian's face darkened as he replied, Am I wrong? In an alley in the city, the Rolfine crest is clearly visible. After hearing the elf maiden recount the situation on the street, Loa sneered as if she'd heard a joke. So someone's spreading rumors that the Rolfine Merchant Guild is exploiting street vendors with money. If they think it's unfair, they should go get rich themselves instead of whining on the streets. She bowed her head slightly obediently, agreeing, You are right, master. While enjoying the company of elves, Tarek spotted a familiar face. The old man called out a greeting, Verret, long time no see! Hearing that voice, the man froze his face, looking like he'd seen a ghost. Tarek, seeing that the girl behind him was a different one, the old man asked, though he already knew the answer. Bought a new elf assassin, have we, Verret? Where's the other one? Though he hated the old man, Verret still had to force a smile. Damn it, why did I have to run into this bastard? She wouldn't listen at all, so I returned her 2 weeks ago. Hearing the man admit he'd returned the goods, the old man burst out laughing with delight. What? You can't even discipline a single elf slave? No wonder the Karen Merchant Guild still can't break into the kingdom's top 10 merchant guilds. Turns out it's because of an incompetent heir like you. Hearing the old man insult him, he couldn't take it anymore and retorted, Hey, you think you could do it? The old man said nothing, only staring at him with his cloudy, disgusting eyes. Clearly, she's been returned a few times before. That's why she was so cheap. I'd love to see the look on his face when I managed to discipline that little assassin. Looks like I'll have to pay a visit to Elvenheim, at a hotel on the outskirts of the city. Tezron was dumbfounded by the scene before him. What in the world are you doing? Cillian, dressed in workout clothes, was trying to do a push-up with all his might. Can't you tell I'm exercising? Looking at his arms and legs so thin they could be snapped, Tezron couldn't help but think he's so frail. It looks like he's trying really hard, but how come he doesn't have any muscles at all? Don't push yourself too hard. What if you get muscle aches for days? After managing one push-up, Cillian sat flat on the ground and replied, It's fine, it won't affect our trip. Seeing the light emanating from him, Tezron finally understood what won't affect meant. Wait a minute. He was using a blessing on himself to dispel the fatigue, now showing it off with pride. Look, if I just do this, I can relieve the muscle pain. Now I know why this kid has no muscles. The principle of healing magic is like reversing time. Muscles grow by being broken down and then regenerating, but if you use divine power on them, it's like returning them to their state before the workout. You idiot. Why would you undo all that hard work? At this moment, Tezron could only look at him as if he were an idiot. He wasted 5 whole years. Being stared at like that, Cillian asked, confused, What's wrong? What is it? Seeing his innocent face, he could only swallow the words he was about to say. It's nothing. Later, I'll teach you a much more effective training method. By the way, isn't your long hair annoying when you exercise? Grabbing his ponytail, he replied proudly. Even if I cut it, my hair grows back quickly. Cool, right? Tezron, who had figured it all out, thought sarcastically, I wonder why that is. Anyway, I'm heading to the slave auction house now. I've gathered enough money by selling off those artifacts. Seeing him about to leave, Cillian hurried after him. Wait for me. There are many different types of slaves on the market. Without a doubt, elves are always the most sought after. Their appearance fits human standards of beauty, which makes them much more valuable than orcs or dwarves. No wonder elf slaves are always much more expensive than other races. Elf assassin, 800 gold coins. Elf maiden, 400 gold coins. Young elf girl, 100 gold coins. Young elf boy, 30 gold coins. Orc gladiator, 10 gold coins. Orc slave, 5 gold coins. Orc infant 4 to 5 gold coins. Male elves. No demand due to high suicide rates. The fact that elves live 4 times longer than humans also makes them popular. However, that means their childhood is also 4 times longer. There's even a famous joke about foolish merchants who ended up growing old and dying while still bottle-feeding an elf baby. Cillian looked at the room's interior, overwhelmed by its luxury. I heard Elvenheim is a 300-year-old elf slave auction house. Tessran couldn't care less about that. Just hearing the auction house's name made a wave of disgust rise in his throat. I can't believe they named a slave auction house after the elven paradise Elvenheim. What disgusting bastards. The boy didn't notice his look of disgust for this place and was still saying excitedly, I've never been to an elf auction house before. Compared to the orc auction houses, this place seems to treat the elves more carefully. He sneered at Cillian's naivety. It's meaningless. They're still treated as slaves. Do you really think this makes them happy? The boy asked back, confused. But didn't they live like wild creatures in the forest before? Wouldn't they be happier serving humans, since they'll never have to worry about hunger or death? That's right. That's what most humans think. No matter how strong you are, you can't change human perception. They'll only feel fear. Tessran's face darkened, a thought burning within him. I must build a new empire different from the one in my past life. It won't be the dark empire of a demon lord, but a nation for all other races. Just then the manager entered lightly, pulling back the curtain to introduce their merchandise. Sorry to have kept you waiting. These are the finest assassins at Elvenheim. Cillian was nearly blinded by their beauty, having to cover his eyes tightly. The manager saw his action and his small frame and misunderstood, joking. Is this a bit much for our little lady? Cillian couldn't believe how open this place was. Why would that guy bring a little girl here? Seeing them put on display like merchandise, Tessran felt a deep sorrow. To think that the dryads of the Green Forest descendants of the Great Spirits have been reduced to this. Do you have any elf assassins with darker skin? Hearing that, the manager showed a knowing look. Ah, now I understand your tastes, sir. So you don't fancy these elves? Seeing Cillian's gaze turn to one of horror, he started sweating, wanting to explain, No, that's not it. As if in disbelief, the boy questioned him. Weren't you just complaining about the elf-slave system a moment ago, and now you're telling him your preferences? Seeing that he had his own standards, the manager offered to take him to choose. I think we have an elf assassin that fits your requirements. Why don't you come with me and have a look? In the hallway, only the sound of heels echoed. Tessran seemed to glance around distractedly. As they passed a group of elf maidens contorting themselves in practice, the manager explained in a soft voice, Here at Elvenheim, we always keep our elves in constant training. We have been developing various types of products using our unique training methods. And we always feed them fresh fruits, vegetables, and nuts. Elves raised on high-quality food develop a pleasant scent. Many elves are underdeveloped, but as you can see, the elves at our auction house, hearing them talk about raising elves like some kind of livestock made him unable to bear it any longer, and his face darkened as he interrupted, I've heard enough. Take us to her. The manager was shaken by his cold, murderous gaze. He coughed lightly. Standing before 2 guards, he said in a cold voice, We're here to see number 148. These are young assassin candidates who have not yet reached adulthood. We are training them for combat. And the elf girl over there is the one I mentioned. Upon seeing a familiar face from his past, Tessran couldn't hold back his tears. Cirrus was standing before him in the flesh, her tanned skin now covered in wounds from battle. But even so, that willpower and determination hadn't faded one bit. Tessran couldn't hold back his longing, and softly called her name in his heart, Cirrus. After his long, arduous journey, our main character finally reached his destination, Jeplin. In the past, or rather in Tessran's previous life in his research lab. Seeing Leppenhart about to cause another disaster, Cirrus tried to stop him, but it was too late. Lord Leppenhart, you can't mix those things together. Amidst the loud explosion, her helpless voice rang out, See, it blew up! Only then did Leppenhart snap out of it and yell, It's on fire! Cirrus said helplessly, You're not supposed to mix a fire essence with a shadow seed. Knowing he'd messed up, he knelt on the ground like a child admitting his mistake. I'm sorry. I really thought it would work this time. Cirrus sat on the floor and yelled in frustration, You said the exact same thing yesterday and it blew up then, too, remember? Even as she said that, Cirrus couldn't help but think to herself, Oh my God, how can a grown man be this adorable? Come here, Lord Leppenhart. Your face is covered in soot. He was a little displeased that she kept calling him Lord. Hey, when are you going to stop calling me Lord Leppenhart? I told you to just call me by my name. Cirrus closed her eyes and answered firmly, I cannot do that. Her firmness confused him. Why not? The scene shifts abruptly. Now everything is engulfed in massive flames with thick smoke billowing high into the sky. Leppenhart stood up high, looking out at the world below. The companions who once journeyed with him were now kneeling in reverence. Maitland kept his head bowed, his voice choked with emotion as he bid farewell to his friend. "I must take my leave, Your Majesty." Leppenhart, now at the end of his rope, turned his head slightly and tried to lighten the mood with a joking tone. "Atilka Macalin Cirrus. Why the long faces? You all look like you're staring at a dying man. The entire continent has united, mobilizing millions of troops to destroy the Demon King. That is likely all the military power they have. I don't know how they plan to deal with the aftermath. Are they planning to ruin an entire nation for a single battle? It just goes to show they can no longer tolerate our existence, Your Majesty." Macklin stood up, reluctant to leave, and asked, "Are you sure you can't come with us?" He answered firmly, "I will stay behind in Gyrock so that you all have a chance to escape." "I'm sorry, Alport. As a god, he went through so much trouble to give me the seal, but I failed." He retorted, "It wasn't a seal, it was a prophecy." Seeing him try to argue, he just chuckled softly. "Same difference. The one who holds the essence of chaos and overcomes destruction after defeating the evil one. Follow him. He will be the one to face destiny and bring salvation." Recalling that prophecy, Leppenhart found it ridiculous. "I was so confused when I first heard it. I destroyed almost the entire temple, but instead of getting angry, those dwarves flocked to praise me as their savior. I couldn't understand what was happening anymore." Allport bowed his head slightly and offered a prayer. "May the blessings of Allport watch over and protect you until we meet again." Leppenhart, knowing it was impossible, still said, "I hope so too. Take care, Macalin. And you too, Tassid and Atlika. Cirrus, it's time for you to go as well." Before leaving, she said softly, "I will wait for you, Lord Leppenhart." Looking at Cirrus, Leppenhart, though unwilling to part, still instructed her, "You never know what fate has in store. If something happens to me, you must find someone new and—" But Cirrus just cut him off. "I will wait for you, no matter what happens." He knew his life was fading, but things aren't looking. Cirrus didn't want to hear it. She repeated angrily, "No matter what happens." Their eyes met in a silent confrontation. In the end, Leppenhart had to yield to her. He gently pulled her into an embrace and gave her a farewell kiss. Returning to the present, watching Cirrus fight the guards, the manager explained with some hesitation, "To be honest, sir, I'm a bit reluctant to introduce her to you. This one is defective merchandise. She's been returned 3 times because she can't be tamed. Despite her good skills, that personality of hers devalues her. And getting rid of an elf isn't easy, you know. We use her to help the other elves develop their combat skills. After all, to raise an elf to be an assassin, they need to accumulate real killing experience. Do you still wish to purchase that girl?" Tessrin replied without a moment's hesitation. "Of course." Seeing him agree to the purchase, the manager grinned slyly. "I knew it. This guy has some unique tastes. You never know what these perverts want. I can probably raise the price by 100 gold coins. Sir, the total will be 300 gold coins." Cillian seemed surprised to hear that. "Only 300 gold coins? That's cheap." The manager replied with a sorrowful expression. "Because she isn't good merchandise. I don't even know if it's okay to be selling her to you." At that moment, Cirrus was brought over. She looked at Tesron carefully. "You must be my new master." Looking at her tattered clothes and wounded body, he thought with a pang of heartache, "It seems she's suffered far too much." Seeing her body covered in wounds, the manager spoke up solicitously. "Would you like me to call a priest, sir? We can remove her scars." Tesron refused and looked toward Cillian. "No need. Silent, can you heal her? You must be cold. We should go buy some clothes first. For now, wear this. You don't have a name, do you?" Her face devoid of emotion, she answered honestly, "I do not." Tesron spoke gently in her ear. "Cirrus, can you hear me?" She showed neither like nor dislike, simply accepting. "Yes, sir." Seeing her somewhat indifferent attitude, he thought she might not like it and asked, "What do you think? Do you like the name?" She closed her eyes, accepting it. "I am Cirrus. I will remember this name." Seeing she didn't object, Tesron's movements became even gentler as he wrapped the scarf around her neck. "Well then, from now on, you will be Cirrus Valencia." This confused her. "A slave doesn't need a family name, right, master?" "No," he said, his voice firm. "You must have one." Tessrin didn't use the name of his current body, but the name from his previous life. "I am Leppenhart, and this is Silen. He is a priest of the Philanins order." Cirrus simply looked at them and replied, "Understood." At the auction house. When the manager heard Tarek's request, he asked in astonishment, "Sir, you wanted number 148 correct. She's already been sold." The old man's face darkened upon hearing the news. "What?" The manager tried to suppress his fear and answered, She was sold about an hour ago. A wicked thought made him immediately think of the most likely culprit, Vere. Could Verate have discovered my plan and bought her back? The manager shrugged and refuted, "No, the buyer wasn't Lord Verate. It was a young man I've never seen around here before." Tarek was surprised it wasn't him. "What's his name?" The manager was in a difficult position. He paid in cash, so I didn't record his information. This made the old man suspicious. Who in this town would carry enough cash to buy an assassin on the spot? The manager quickly explained, "The assassin you're looking for was a defective model, so I sold her to him for a very cheap price." Though annoyed, the old man held back his anger and asked the manager for his description. "Well, then at least tell me what he looks like." The manager recalled and gave a simple description. "He's very tall and large. You'll recognize him the moment you see him." Tesron, not yet aware that he was being sought after, was currently frowning in deep thought, staring at something. Her round bottom was hugged by short shorts and her honey thighs were covered by thigh-high boots. What a perfect figure. Cirrus stepped out in her lovely new clothes. Although Tesron was a little dissatisfied with the outfit because it was cheap, he was still pleased with the view it offered. "I know it's not perfect, but wear this for now. I'll find you something better later." "Aren't you hungry?" Cirrus replied meekly. "As you wish, master." Seeing that she was still so formal with him, Tesron said with a sense of helplessness, "Don't treat me as your master." Hearing this, Cirrus thought he was displeased with her. "Do you want to return me?" Tesron panicked and tried to explain, "No, that's not what I meant." His kindness and consideration confused Cirrus. "What's wrong with this man? First he offers me his coat as if showing off, and then he gives me these expensive clothes. He treats me as if I were an ordinary woman." Noticing her scrutinizing gaze, he could only force an excuse. "I just want you to treat me as a traveling companion and a comrade in arms, so could you call me by my name instead of master?" But this didn't lessen her wariness. Is this the type of person he is? He's just a pervert obsessed with adventure stories. I guess he wants to pretend to be a warrior traveling with a swordswoman. Very well, from now on I will call you Sir Leppenheart. Humans, they're all the same. Watching Cirrus and Cillian eat with their cheeks puffed out like two little chipmunks, Tesron cheerfully explained the restaurant's history. Ledantus's Grace is the most famous restaurant in Jeplin. They believe that providing food in the name of Ledantus, the goddess of land and prosperity, is the proper way to serve her. Hearing that, Cillian asked with his mouth full, mumbling, "So isn't all of this free then?" Tesron glanced at him and said, "Does your Philinance order also do business in beauty?" Taken aback, Cillian corrected him a little displeased. "That is what we, the servants of the goddess of love and beauty, must do, and it does not go against our doctrine." Tesron acted surprised. "Really, I heard you make quite a bit of money doing those things." Cillian answered, slightly flustered, "Yes, that is true." After talking with him, Tesron gently glanced over at Cirrus, who was burying her head in her food. Startled by his gaze, she froze. Then she reluctantly put down her fork. Unaware, Tesron thought she stopped eating because she didn't like the place. She doesn't like this place either. We used to come here every year to celebrate our first meeting. In my next life, I met Cirrus as her savior. But in this life, I met Cirrus as her buyer. There's a big difference between a seller and a buyer. Perhaps I came too soon. Even so, Tesron didn't want to overthink it. He was quite satisfied with the current situation. At the very least, his early appearance had lessened some of the suffering she had to endure. She'll understand my true intentions someday. For now, this is enough. Seeing him approach, the owner of the weapon stall began his sales pitch. "These are the best weapons in our shop. You'll never find weapons like this anywhere else." Tesron gently asked for her opinion. "Cirrus, what do you think? Do you like any of these?" Seeing her pick a sword, Tesron commented casually, "A light sword, huh? I thought you used a dagger." The fact that he knew this made her wary. Wait, how did he know that? Seeing her face darken with suspicion as she looked at him, Tesron felt a pang of regret. "Damn, I slipped up." Miraculously, Cillian spoke up at that moment, saving Tesron from the awkward situation. "Amazing. They say true masters can tell what weapon someone uses just by looking at their hands." In the end, a dagger was fastened to her hip. Cillian's excited voice rang out, "I never thought I'd get a weapon made of silver steel. I've only ever admired these things." Tesron gave him a strange look. "Of course. But how often does a priest even need to use a weapon?" Sensing someone watching him, he stopped in his tracks and glanced over at the person who had come for him. In the small alley, Romad appeared with his soldiers staring intently at him. He then led the way out of the alley and spoke with a cold expression. "Sir, we'd like to have a word with you." Their sudden appearance made Tesron realize this group had come with ill intentions. His face darkened. Knowing they didn't come in peace, his attitude was extremely poor. "What is it?" Romad was annoyed by his arrogant attitude. His face was ice cold as he replied, "A certain gentleman wants that elf girl." Even hearing this, Cirrus showed no reaction, merely staring at him. Hearing this, Tesron grew even more annoyed, which was evident from his facial muscles and his yellow eyes. "So what?" He presented a letter bearing Tarek's seal. His posture was polite, but his tone allowed no refusal. "Sell that slave. We will compensate you handsomely. If you wish, you can exchange her for a higher quality elf slave. You can check this IOU first." Of course, Tesron would never give up Cirrus. He flatly refused, "I'm not interested." Romad asked again in disbelief, "Are you refusing our offer?" He calmly repeated, "That's right." This stubbornness made him lose his patience. "Do you clearly not understand what we're offering? We already said you will be compensated handsomely." Seeing him still prattling on Tesron's face darkened as he replied, "You're the one who doesn't understand me. I said I'm not interested." Seeing that neither threats nor persuasion worked, he turned around, leaving a sentence full of hidden meaning. "You're a strange one. I guess we have nothing more to say. You must be very fond of that elf slave, huh?" Tesron snorted in annoyance. "Who does he think he is?" Cillian agreed with him. "We've been running into a lot of weirdos lately, at the Tarek family mansion." Not seeing Cirrus, the old man roared in fury. "What? How could you come back empty-handed, Romad?" He bowed his head low and explained, "No matter how high a price I offered, that fool refused to sell." Hearing this, Tarek yelled angrily, "You should have just beaten him and taken the deed." He had to explain once more. There were too many prying eyes there. "I think you should handle this more reasonably. First, we'll wait for the right moment to capture that slave girl. Then we'll declare her dead and offer double the compensation. Once that slave girl is sold at a low price, it will surely catch his attention." After hearing the plan from him, Tarek seemed pleased. "That's a decent plan. This time, take Lantis with you. He has held on for too long to things that should have been ours." The next morning at the hotel Tesron had rented, bags of gold coins spread across the bed were giving off a sparkling light. Looking at the remaining gold, Tesron pondered to himself. "I only planned on spending 2,000 gold, but I ended up using more than I expected. Then again, to rebuild this empire, this amount is really nothing. Perhaps I should invest it instead of just messing around like this." Come to think of it, it was around this time that a famine was ravaging the neighboring Krovence kingdom. The Krovence kingdom is an agricultural nation blessed by Lenvati, the goddess of the earth. Its lands are fertile and its harvests bountiful. For that reason, no one could have predicted that a famine was on the horizon. Thanks to the memories of his past life, Tesron could choose his first investment path. However, by next spring, countless people had starved to death and were brutally cannibalized. Investing in grain now would be a smart move. These three businesses are the ones I need to watch: the Rolfine merchants, the Charon merchants, and the Tauvan merchants. Investing in the Rolfine merchants is a bad idea. That guy was a perverted sex offender in my past life. If I have to choose between the other two, I'll go with the Rolfine merchants' rival, the Tauvan merchants. They're the third largest grain traders on the continent. Meanwhile, in his office, Seabolt was tearing his hair out over a report. Damn it. The Rolfine merchants are selling wheat and barley at half price. How can the second largest business on the continent be so clueless? I'm Seabolt Tauvan, head of the Tauvan merchants. At this rate, we're going to lose all our customers. The best I can hope for is to somehow pay off our upcoming debts. Just then, the butler opened the door, looking flustered. "Sir Seabolt, you have a visitor. He says he wants to invest in our business." Seabolt, uninterested, waved it off. "A few gold coins can't solve our situation right now. I can't be bothered. Get rid of him." But the butler's next words stopped him cold. "But sir, he offered a total of 1,500 gold coins." Seabolt, unable to believe his ears, asked again, "What?" Tesron was then invited in. As he sat down, he tossed 3 bags of gold onto the table and immediately stated his desire. "I want to invest all 1,500 of these gold coins in grain. I will sell it to the Krovence kingdom next spring after the barley harvest." Seabolt asked in disbelief. "What did you just say? The Krovence kingdom? Selling grain to the Krovence kingdom is like selling them soap. There's no way that would ever happen." Hearing this, he just scoffed and muttered, "Can orcs only use soap once?" The man didn't hear clearly and asked what. Not wanting him to know, he simply replied, "It's nothing. Even if the deal fails, I'm the only one who loses everything. But if it succeeds, you'll profit as well. So this is actually a good deal for you." Even so, Seabolt couldn't just watch him throw money away and tried his best to dissuade him. "That's true, but I can't advise you to invest in something that's guaranteed to fail. You should reconsider." Seeing the man's constant hesitation, Tesron pretended to be dissatisfied, picked up the money bags, and made to leave. If you don't want my money, I'll take it elsewhere. Alarmed, the man quickly stopped him. No, wait, young man. To be honest, the Taovan merchant's financial situation isn't very good right now. In fact, at this rate, we might go bankrupt during this difficult time and get bought out. That's why I'm advising you to invest in something else. Seeing that he was still trying to stop him from investing, Tezron sighed inwardly. Looks like he's just as stubborn as in my past life. I guess that's just his personality. He then said aloud, "This is my money. I'll use it as I please. Just bring me the papers. You just need to promise me one thing. Don't use my money for anything else without my consent." Under his intimidating gaze, Sibolt didn't dare do otherwise and meekly replied, "Of course, sir." As the butler brought the contract, Tezron seemed to remember something and asked, "And there's a Taovan branch in the Graham Kingdom, right?" The man bowed his head slightly as he took the contract and replied, "Yes, we just opened a trade route in the north." Hearing that, he pressed on. "So is there a branch near the Delpha Magic Tower?" The man thought for a moment, then answered, "No, but the Ranta branch does pass through Delphia." Hearing this, Tezron immediately asked for his help. "Then could you find someone for me?" He agreed immediately. "Certainly. Just give me their name and I'll get in touch right away." It turned out the person he wanted to find was himself in this life. I have to use this opportunity to gather information about Leppenhart at the Magic Tower. Meanwhile, at the hotel, Cillian was watching Cirrus prepare for combat training. She swung the broadsword in her hand lightly as if testing its handling. Once she was comfortable with it, she launched into her sword practice. Her standard movements combined with her stunning figure made it impossible to look away. During her practice, old memories flooded Cirrus's mind. A gentle voice seemed to echo in her ear. "We are the High Elves, once the protectors of the Green Forest. All elves lived eternal lives in happiness under the blessing of the world tree Elvenheim. All animals were our friends, and every plant provided us with endless food. Though we were pushed to this state by humans, the great goddess Elia will one day guide us back to paradise. We are the descendants of the great elf maiden. My dear daughter, you must not forget our pride." In the blazing fire, a young Cirrus could only stand and watch, helpless. An elven matron looked down at her coldly and lectured, "You are very beautiful, so you'll have a chance to be sold to a good place. You should start learning how to love and become a good elf." But even so, Cirrus was still beaten by those who bought her. The beatings with a wooden club and his ferocious face were seared into her memory. Being abandoned and left to starve became an almost daily occurrence. The other elves mocked her. The only thing that saved her was her own sword. Every adult had to take up a sword, and they all fought with pride and courage until the very end. That is why Cirrus loves her sword. When she wields it, she can recall the proud image of her parents. That was why in this moment she swung her sword with even more force, as if trying to meet her revered parents once more through this act. So much time had passed and her memories had faded, but there was still one thing she held deep in her heart. The gentle voice speaking in the elven tongue came to Cirrus's ear like a decree from on high. "My daughter, you must not forget our pride." After she finished her sword practice, Cillian, who was standing behind her, couldn't help but applaud. His face lit up as he looked at her with admiration. "That was amazing. How did you learn to move like that?" She didn't know how to explain and could only reply dryly, "You just have to train hard." Hearing this again, Cillian looked fed up. "That's what Leppen told me." "Do all you warriors think the same way Cirrus hesitated before denying it?" "I don't think so." He didn't pay much attention and started shadowboxing. "Is this how you do it?" Just then a voice cut in. "There you are." A group of people entered, led by a man whose voice was familiar. It was Romad. He'd brought people to capture her. "Come with us, you elf. We're taking you to your true master." Facing the man with ill intentions, Cirrus showed no fear, calmly looking him straight in the eye. The entire space fell silent after he finished speaking. It was clear that in terms of numbers, Romad's side had the overwhelming advantage. But Cillian wasn't scared of him either. He pointed defiantly and shouted, "Hey, who the hell are you guys?" As if he couldn't understand them, Romad launched into a monologue. "Don't expect anyone to come save you. I've already made all the preparations to stop that from happening." Seeing him rambling on again, Cillian cut in, "Hey, we already told you she's not for sale, so why are you still causing a ruckus?" Being interrupted again, he could no longer hold back and raised his sword. "You insolent brat!" But Cirrus blocked it with her sword. Then she slid her blade in, finishing the loudmouth off with a single strike. His entire body collapsed forward, blood spraying from his neck like a fountain. Seeing their comrade fall, the enraged soldiers grabbed their swords and charged, trying to cut her down. With her nimble movements, Cirrus easily dodged the two closest idiots. Then she used her swordplay to finish them off one by one. Her movements were so fast they were dead before they even knew what happened. Romad never expected her to be this powerful. His expression gradually shifted to one of shock and apprehension. "You're just an elf slave." But she was far too strong. Cillian didn't just stand by and let Cirrus protect herself. He began to cast a spell chanting, "Pilanins, please unleash your wrath upon these sinners." But just before he could finish, Cirrus lunged and pulled him back. Something tore through the air, whizzing past him. If not for her, he would have been a goner for sure. The thing that whizzed by turned out to be a dagger, its tip embedding deep into a tree trunk with a dull thud. After throwing the dagger, Ramad started running his mouth. Taking the life of a fledgling pilgrim is just too easy. Hearing this, Cillian couldn't contain his anger, his face flushing red with rage. "You bastard!" Cirrus quickly held him back, afraid he'd do something rash. "It's all right." Seeing her walk towards him, he called out worriedly, "Cirrus." Her hand tightened around the hilt of her sword. She reassured Cillian with a confident look, "Don't worry." Seeing her dare to point her sword at him, Romad's face flushed red with fury. He turned his head and called out coldly, "It's time for you to get to work, Talcata." Hearing the call, Talcata immediately stepped forward. "Yes, master." When Cillian saw the man's towering figure, his face grew pale with fear. "An orc warrior." He lowered his eyes to Cirrus and spoke coldly. "Talcata will now act. I will capture that elf. I am sorry, but this is your fate." Translation: "I'm truly sorry, but this is beyond our control. Just accept your fate." With just a glance, she could tell his skills were superb, which made her hesitate slightly. He possesses abilities far beyond that of a human. "Can I really defeat him, Asterisk?" Afraid he might kill her. Romad raised his voice to remind him, "Talcata, make sure she isn't harmed." The man charged forward with his large sword and replied confidently, "I will not hurt her. Talcata will only capture her." Seeing the tip of the blade rushing toward her, Cirrus quickly angled her own sword to block it. But suddenly the tip of his blade shifted to the left instead of continuing its thrust, catching her off guard and leaving her no time to react. He used the flat of his blade to strike Cirrus hard on the back. This sent her staggering to the right. Cirrus was shocked that someone with such a large build could have such agile sword skills. "He's really strong. I shouldn't have left my dagger back in the room." Seeing him raise his sword to defend, Cirrus immediately jumped up, preparing to dodge. Seeing him dragging things out, Romad became annoyed and yelled, "What are you playing at, Talcata? You can't even capture a single female elf." Noticing his master's anger, he cursed inwardly. Damn it, so much for dinner tonight. Forced to act, he had no choice but to attack more fiercely, but she dodged his every move. Drops of sweat trickled down Talcata's face. With each exchange, Cirrus's expression grew more grim. She gritted her teeth, watching him warily. At that moment, he swung his blade up, preparing to strike down. Sensing the danger, she lifted her legs and decided to run straight towards him. Talcata never expected her to do this. Annoyed, he swung his sword straight down. But Cirrus, as if she didn't feel a thing, kept running straight toward him. The tip of the sword was now just a few centimeters from her face, but Cirrus didn't back down. Her gaze was more determined than ever. Talcata was startled by her reckless spirit. She wasn't even trying to dodge. At this rate. Because of this, he was forced to twist his wrist, turning a straight thrust into a sideways slash. Cirrus smiled as if she'd gotten exactly what she wanted. Without mercy, the tip of her sword plunged into Talcata. She then slid it upward, aiming for his neck, but due to her smaller stature, she only managed to wound him slightly. Talcata stared at her as if she were insane. "I almost killed her. If I hadn't changed the direction of my blade..." Sensing his thoughts, Cirrus smiled back. "I only did it because I trusted your skill." Suddenly, Cillian shouted, "Cirrus, can you block a throwing knife?" "What?" Though confused, she still answered, "I think I can." With that confirmation, Cillian immediately began to cast his magic. "All right, I'm counting on you." Seeing him start to chant again, Romad decided to try the same trick. "You bitch. I told you to stand still." The dagger cut through the air, flying like an arrow. Seeing this, a cold, sharp glint appeared in Cirrus's eyes as she glared at him. She quickly swung her sword, batting the dagger away. Thanks to her protection, Cillian completed his incantation. "Pilanins, I beseech you, unleash your wrath upon those bastards." The dense magical energy made Cirrus turn her head in astonishment. Even Romad's jaw dropped at the sight. Sweat poured down his face like a waterfall. The massive scepter under his control came crashing down, ready to crush Romad. As the scepter struck, a thunderous explosion echoed, startling the birds on the rooftops. Dust shot into the air, obscuring everything in a thick cloud. After that spectacular display, Cillian hurried over to Cirrus, signaling for her to run. Divine power is really only effective against demons and the undead. But that should be enough to buy us some time. Now let's go. Cirrus, never expecting him to have such talent, looked at him with admiration and replied, "Right." Cillian was stunned for a moment as she grabbed him by the collar and hauled him up. Without a moment's hesitation, Cirrus threw her sword. The heavy blade embedded itself deep in the wall. She leaped lightly onto the sword, then used it as a foothold to leap higher. Holding Cillian in her arms, she crashed right through a glass window to get inside. Seeing them escape, Romad angrily pointed in their direction and yelled, "Talcata, after them!" Just then, Lantis appeared, his voice full of scorn. "What is all this? Don't tell me you failed again. You can't even catch a single elven girl." Seeing him, Romad was like a mouse before a cat, stammering, "But because she's much stronger than we thought." The corner of his mouth curled into a mocking sneer. Even Talcata struggled. How strange. An ordinary elf hunter should have a hard time facing a veteran orc warrior. Well then, perhaps it's time I demonstrated my own worth. Where did they go? Without hesitation, Romad pointed in the direction they had fled. That way. Very well. In an instant, Lantis's figure vanished from behind him. He launched himself from a tree branch, leaping in the direction the two had fled. He moved like the wind, soaring gracefully through the shattered window. From below, all that could be seen was the flutter of his cloak, leaving Romad standing there dumbfounded. Even knowing how powerful Lantis was, he still couldn't believe it. Did he just leap over the rooftops as if it were nothing? So that's the power of an aura user. As he walked down the empty corridor, his deep, raspy voice echoed, "How nostalgic. I haven't played a game of hide-and-seek in a very long time." At that moment, Cirrus and Cillian had no idea what a formidable opponent they were facing. Their expressions were tense, worried that an enemy could appear at any moment.